Chapter 3570. A moment of carelessness and the magic silver puppet's ambush. Although it wasn't a big deal, 3 hostages were lost. From then on, there seemed to be nothing else that could threaten them. The ghost iron ancestor and the others. However, even if they weren't careless, the magic silver puppet's ambush wasn't easy to block. This magic silver puppet wants to burrow into my time. It's very similar to demon ancestor Chio's fate-changing rope. But there's a difference. It seems to want to control me, while demon ancestor Chiyu wants to become me. One could roughly guess that it was the magic silver puppet that could control Long Chen. If Long Chen became one of them, then as long as Long Chen reached the peak, they would have great power even against the 10,000 worlds. It seems like the bright gold ancestor and the magic silver ancestor not only understand the 10,000 worlds very well, they also have great ambitions. Of course, knowing all this now was useless. Seeing the 3 hostages escape, the ghost iron ancestor, 9-colored ancestor, and the others' eyes lit up, as if they saw the last ray of light. All the 5th era ancestor gods, apart from the injured hostages, charged forward after a short moment of shock. Kill! This time, they didn't want to miss this chance. Victory or defeat, success or failure, all depended on this. The most terrifying magic silver puppet circled around, looking for a chance to attack again. It was like an assassin, a huge threat to Long Chen. Wang. The stars were in chaos. Colorful world. The 9-colored ancestor's movements were the fastest. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Long Chen. In the blink of an eye, his divine body dissipated, turning into countless colored steel petals. In an instant, there were billions of petals that danced about in the boundless world, sealing off all of Long Chen's escape routes. The countless colored steel petals naturally possessed immense killing power. Rumble! The 9-colored ancestor's attack had been prepared for a long time, suppressing the attacks of the other ancestor gods. Naturally, it was the first to arrive. The entire world became a sea of metal flowers. If that's the case, then I'll kill my way out. Long Chen wasn't afraid. Universe blood rain. Layers of sword shadows filled the world. The rain of blood formed a terrifying collision with the sea of metal flowers. Under this power, the other 5th era ancestor gods couldn't participate in this battle. Amazing! In the sea of steel flowers, in the colorful world, Long Chen fought with all his might. He couldn't even break through the cosmic rain of blood. This 9-colored ancestor is still a bit weaker than the Chiyu demon ancestor, but I still can't break her laws. Naturally, Long Chen didn't dare to be careless. With the help of time, when the cosmic blood rain was resisting the crazy attacks of the colorful worlds, he slashed his sword crazily. With a super space-time killing sword, he finally tore a passage in the battle of the 2 great rules and escaped. You can still fight against the 9-colored rules. Not bad, but can you escape from the palm of my hand? As soon as he came out, the ghost steel ancestor, who had been waiting for him, arrived. Heaven-covering hand. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, an enormous hand appeared in the starry sky, blotting out the sun. It was as large as a primal chaos god world, and covered with millions upon millions of suppressive characters. As soon as Long Chen appeared, he was directly beneath it. Suppress! With a rumble, the boundless heaven-covering hand came crashing down. Before the hand arrived, the countless characters were already suppressing him. Just like the Jin Ming Ding, it made it impossible for Long Chen to move. All of this had happened too quickly. Epic killing art. Whoosh. In truth, Long Chen wanted to use the epic killing art to escape. After all, he knew he couldn't block the ghost steel ancestor's attack. The hand that covered the sky. Long Chen turned into a bloody light and fled, but he was still shaken. The hand that covered the sky flipped over, and a huge palm grabbed out, locking Long Chen in place. Within the palm was a sealed world. As soon as he entered, countless black characters flashed, and just like the Jin Ming Ding, they completely locked Long Chen in place. Spectre puppet, go in! The ghost steel ancestor created a crack, and the spectre puppet entered the sealed world. Now that Long Chen was being suppressed, it was time for the spectre puppet to show its might. Success! For a moment, the 9 5th-era ancestral gods around him cheered wildly. Although the process was terrifying and difficult, they had succeeded in the end. Long Chen was completely trapped in the godly kingdom in the palm of the ghost steel ancestor's hand. There was no way for him to escape. Indeed, Long Chen had used all his strength inside. He couldn't break free. The most troublesome thing was that the specter puppet had already entered. If not for the specter puppet, Long Chen might have been able to charge out of here with all his strength. This is troublesome. He hadn't expected the other party to be so powerful, to put Long Chen in such a dangerous situation. After all, the other party had 10 5th-era ancestral gods and the specter puppet. It was already pretty good that Long Chen could do this. For a moment, facing the heaven-covering hand and the specter puppet, Long Chen didn't know what to do. Fortunately, the primal chaos ancestral gods didn't disappoint Long Chen. I've kept you waiting, Long Chen. However, your improvement is really great. The primal chaos ancestral god's voice. Boom. Something seemed to explode in the outside world. Hiss. The specter puppet sped up and attacked. Long Chen barely blocked it with slaughter and dodged the first attack. Boom. In an instant, the entire heaven-covering hand trembled and then exploded. Long Chen regained his freedom and returned to the infinite worlds. At this time, the two familiar seniors had returned to his side. The primal chaos ancestral god and primal war ancestor were on his left and right respectively. The crisis was instantly resolved. On the other side, the bright gold ancestor and the specter silver ancestor had also rushed over. They stood in front of the 5th-era ancestral gods. The previous commotion was huge, but now it was as if time had stopped. The bright gold ancestor and the specter silver ancestor had ugly expressions. Clearly, the plan they had been very confident in had completely failed. "Are you all right?" asked the primal war ancestor. "I'm fine." With the Taiji life body, they couldn't hurt Long Chen. The specter silver puppet was in the hands of the primal chaos ancestral god. At this time, a sphere appeared in the primal chaos ancestral god's hand. Within it was the element of primal chaos. With a cry of pain, the specter silver puppet was completely destroyed, evaporating into mist and vanishing from the primal chaos ancestral god's hand. Seeing this scene, Long Chen felt that there was still a huge gap between him and the primal chaos ancestral god. When the specter silver puppet was destroyed, it meant that the Destruction Clan's plan had completely failed. No matter how ugly the bright gold ancestor and the specter silver ancestor were, they had no choice but to lower their heads. They had underestimated Long Chen and wasted too much time. After all, Long Chen wasn't an ordinary 6th-era ancestral god. At this time, the primal chaos ancestral god said, "It seems to be over, right? We're still in your destruction ancestral territory, so you should listen to us. Otherwise, not only will everyone here suffer, but the people in your destruction ancestral territory will suffer the most. If we continue to fight, we might not be able to win, but we can really destroy your destruction ancestral territory and plunge it into misery and suffering. Yes, we've lost. What do you want?" The bright gold ancestor's eyes were fierce. The primal chaos ancestral god wasn't afraid of him. He said, "It's simple. We didn't want to go against you, but we have to know the reason for our loss. Why did you treat us so warmly at first, then immediately turn hostile? I really can't figure it out." The bright gold ancestor and the others were silent. "If I'm not satisfied with the answer and you're lying, I don't mind starting a war," the primal chaos ancestral god added. He had always been the toughest of the 4th-era ancestral gods on Long Chen's side. "All right, I'll tell you." The specter silver ancestor was straightforward. "I know the situation of the infinite worlds. I know that the sky-swallowing race destroyed the dragons and that the ancestral gods have returned. I know that the sky-swallowing race is now sealed. We've long wanted to break the passage and occupy the infinite worlds without the ancestral gods, but we couldn't do it. So we've been waiting for an opportunity. We know that the ancestral gods have regained control of the infinite worlds. After staying in such a small place for billions of years, Bright Gold and I can't take it anymore. Coincidentally, you're here. I know that you, Long Chen, are one of the 10 ancestral dragon inheritors. I have the specter silver puppet, which can invade your world source and fuse it into your ancestral soul, turning you into my puppet. When you're strong enough, you can help us control the infinite worlds. That was our goal. But we failed and we accept it." Chapter 3571. At this point, the devilish silver ancestor and the bright gold ancestor's intentions were quite obvious. They were ready to give up. Now that their scheme had been foiled and the primordial war ancestor and primordial war ancestor had regained their freedom,
There was basically no benefit to the destruction race if they continued to tangle with them.
3 of you. Although the luminous gold ancestor's plan had failed, he didn't lower his head. Naturally, he wouldn't feel guilty about this. This was his attitude.
Since they had won, there was nothing more to say.
At this point, let's not beat around the bush.
It's not a good thing for us that you came to our destruction ancestral region for no reason.
It was a disaster. If we don't break the passage between the two worlds, I don't think it will be possible for you to stay in the ancestral land of destruction. This is our territory, and the 3 of you are so powerful. If you stay here for a long time, it will be against the rules. As the saying goes, 2 tigers cannot live on the same mountain. The luminous gold ancestor and the devil silver ancestor were of the same race, so they restrained each other. Since the primal chaos ancestral gods were outsiders, the luminous gold ancestor naturally wanted them to leave. However, there is only one way to leave this place, and that is for the 4 of us to join forces and break through this passageway. Let you out, but that won't do us any good. Henceforth, we'll destroy the ancestral domain and your dragon sacrificial world. We won't know if it's a blessing or a curse. But it's very likely that it's nothing good. These were the 2 choices. But to them, neither of the 2 choices was a good thing. That was why they wanted to use Long Chen as a hostage to solve this problem. However, this method was obviously not going to work. From our point of view, we don't want to divide your destruction ancestral region at all. We just want to leave this place, said the primal chaos ancestral god.
That's right. The luminous gold ancestor nodded and continued. So between the 2 choices, if we choose the first one, then you will continue to cause trouble for us,
forcing us to choose the second option. In that case, we can only choose the second option. After all, the primal chaos elder gods were so powerful that they were beyond their control. No wonder they wanted to kidnap Long Chen in the first place. That was their third option, but they failed. Thus, they could only choose the second method, which was to work together to break open the channel. From then on, the myriad worlds were connected to the ancestral realm of destruction. Perhaps, if the sky-swallowing race had not been destroyed, the destruction ancestral territory would still be threatened by them. This was what made him depressed. They must have understood this as well. If they had a choice, even if they wanted to go out to the outside world, they would have to think about it carefully. However, they didn't have a choice right now. If they didn't choose, then the ancestral god realm would definitely not have peace. After all, they were the ones who attacked first. Now, the primal chaos ancestral gods didn't need to hold back. Alright, let's cut the crap. We're leaving now. Once the passageway is opened, you don't need to worry. We elder gods have strict rules, and we won't invade your world for no reason. Destroying the ancestral lands and the dragon sacrificial worlds is perfectly fine. The 2 of you, elder gods of destruction, are completely free to join us and become one of us, said primordial chaos elder god. Is that true?
I'm a man of my word, so there's no reason for me to lie to you. Generally speaking, with the luminous gold ancestor and the devilish silver ancestor overseeing it, the destruction ancestor domain was actually the largest world in the myriad worlds. If the 4th era's ancestral gods didn't join forces, they wouldn't be able to offend them. There was no need for them to target the bright gold ancestor and the devilish silver ancestor. After all, everyone had their own worlds. Alright, let's go. The bright gold ancestor and the devilish silver ancestor led the 9 5th era's ancestral gods into the distance. Long Chen and the other 2 followed behind them. Today was an important day for the Destruction Clan. The 2nd era's origin grotto had always been independent, but from today onwards, it was a part of the myriad worlds. Finally, both sides reached the edge of the destruction ancestor domain. Among them, the 4 4th era's ancestral gods gathered together. It would probably take a lot of effort for them to work together to break through the steel wall. Everyone back away. The bright gold ancestor instructed the 5th era's ancestral gods. Long Chen, enter my divine kingdom. The primordial chaos elder god was still worried that they would take advantage of the chaos to cause trouble. It was best to protect Long Chen like this. Alright. After everyone was ready, the 4 4th era's progenitor gods gathered together. They were going to attack the place that they felt was the weakest at the same time. This steel wall was rather terrifying, and with their level, they would probably need a period of time. It would only be possible if the 4 of them worked together. Attack! As expected, the 4 ancestral gods attacked together.
Even within the divine kingdom, Long Chen could see everything clearly.
The fourth era's ancestral god's methods are indeed extraordinary, as expected of the strongest ancestral god in the myriad worlds. Among the ancestral gods, they were indeed the strongest of the fourth era. However, the steel wall was even more heaven-defying. In the past, the bright gold ancestor and the devil silver ancestor had tried many times, but they had failed to break it. Every time they attacked a little more than halfway, they would be unable to withstand it.
Attack! A huge commotion broke out throughout the destruction ancestor domain. The two ancestral gods each brought out their world origin.
With the world origin attacking, their offensive power was even more terrifying than that of the bright gold ancestor and the devil silver ancestor. The primordial chaos elder god's world origin was something Long Chen had seen before.
It was the chaos 9-colored lotus. A single lotus seed had limitless power. Boom, boom, boom.
The bright gold ancestor and the primordial war ancestor were very similar.
They were both proficient in offense, and they were both members of the steel race. They were also proficient in destroying such places. At this time, the four of them were using all their skills. In the dark, they were also competing and comparing. The surrounding starry sky shattered, and everything within 100 million kilometers was in complete chaos.
Many of the fifth era's ancestral gods could not clearly see the details from afar.
They could only sense the earth-shattering commotion.
It won't be long before we reach the dragon sacrificial realm. What will be the fate of the destruction ancestor domain's future?
I think I've offended the ancestral dragon's inheritor today. I wonder if he'll hold a grudge.
The fifth era's ancestral gods had ugly expressions as they discussed in secret.
Long Chen was also carefully observing.
In terms of combat power, the primordial chaos elder god should be the strongest, followed by the primordial war ancestor.
The other two don't have world origin, so they're slightly weaker.
But judging from the shaking of the steel wall, breaking through here and connecting the two worlds shouldn't be too big of a problem.
Time quietly passed. Long Chen continued to observe. Something's wrong.
Perhaps the bright gold ancestor was addicted to fighting in secret, and he insisted on fighting the primordial chaos elder god. This made Long Chen suddenly realize that there seemed to be an unusual power in his body.
What is that? Long Chen was stunned.
It was normal to see golden light on the bright gold ancestor's body, but what was up with that black light? Ever since this aura appeared, the bright gold ancestor had indeed become much stronger. The more he fought, the more valiant he became. He hadn't displayed such a method before.
This isn't the power of the world origin. Long Chen was completely certain.
But why, Karma?
At this time, Long Chen took out the Karma halberd. Ownerless.
The world origin didn't react at first, but when the halberd appeared in Long Chen's hand, it suddenly trembled. The sharpest part of the halberd pointed at the bright gold ancestor's position in the divine kingdom.
Even if it was pulled away, it would point again. Seeing this scene, Long Chen was extremely shocked.
Ancestral God, the origin dragon soul of the heart-refining dragon might be in the bright gold ancestor's body.
He's using the heart-refining dragon's power. Long Chen said with certainty.
First, he sensed it himself, and second, it was the Karma halberd's feeling. According to his logic, the steel bridge appeared half a year ago, and that's when I found the Karma halberd. There's no reason for the second era Yuan stone to suddenly appear. The only possibility is that the heart-refining dragon hid its origin dragon soul in the second era Yuan stone for concealment. Then, when I obtained the Karma halberd, the steel bridge appeared and led me to the second era Yuan stone.
The truth.
What? The primordial chaos elder god was also shocked.
Chapter 3572.
What's troublesome is that the origin dragon soul of the divine Tao heart-refining dragon is hidden in the bright gold ancestor. This undoubtedly increased the difficulty for Long Chen to obtain the origin dragon soul. The luminous gold ancestor clearly knew the key, but he had been hiding it all this time and accidentally revealed it now. Of course, he didn't expect Long Chen to be so sharp in the god nation. After all, not even the primal chaos ancestral gods and the others had noticed it. I didn't expect to reap such rewards. In that case, we have to snatch the origin dragon soul of the divine Tao heart dragon before we leave. We only have one chance.
I can't appear for now.
After all, there will be too many creator gods and it will be too chaotic once we get out. It will be too difficult to fight for the divine Tao heart-refining dragon outside. After hearing Long Chen's reminder, the primal chaos ancestral god pondered for a moment and communicated with the primordial battle ancestor. Both of them felt that they should settle the origin dragon's soul in the destruction ancestral domain. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if they left. The origin dragon's soul is so important. It's better to get it as soon as possible. The primordial war ancestor said. If that's the case, stop. At the most crucial moment, primordial ancestor god and primordial war ancestor exchanged glances. Suddenly, they completely retreated and appeared near the 5th era's primordial ancestor god. Because of their retreat, the steel wall that they had been accumulating for a long time could no longer be broken. The luminous gold ancestor and the others already knew the nature of this metal wall. If they couldn't break it, it would automatically recover. Only by destroying it would they be able to leave. You! The bright gold ancestor and the devil silver ancestor were shocked. They had said that they were going to break through this place, but they suddenly stopped. This brought great pressure to the two of them. Most importantly, they were still beside the 5th era's ancestral god. The two 4th era's ancestral god were instantly enraged. They gave up on attacking and chased after them. Primal chaos ancestral god, primal war ancestral god, what are you doing? Are you messing with us? Let me tell you, we are afraid of you, but don't think that we are easy to bully. Swoosh. Swoosh. The two 4th era elder gods stood in front of their 5th era elder gods, glaring at the chaos elder god and the others with fierce expressions on their faces.
Didn't you just want to leave? Why did you suddenly stop?
The devilish silver ancestor asked coldly.
The chaos ancestral god said, "Don't get too worked up, gentlemen. Naturally, there has been a change in the situation, and this change originated from you guys. Then, I'll be straightforward.
The luminous gold ancestor, one of the 10 great ancestral dragons, the origin dragon soul of the divine Tao heart-refining dragon, was hidden here.
I seem to have sensed that it's on you just now."
The luminous gold ancestor's expression changed drastically. From this sudden change, he was almost certain that it was as Long Chen had said. This made the primal chaos ancestor even more confident. He said, Long Chen obtained the inheritance of the 10 great ancestral dragons, and the origin dragon soul is the most important thing to him.
But it won't be of much use to you.
That's the power that his ancestors left behind for their descendants to rebuild their homeland. I think that the bright gold ancestor should return the origin dragon soul to its rightful owner.
If that's the case, we will be eternally grateful.
Primordial war ancestor said, "That's right. As the saying goes, it's useless to force things that aren't yours. The origin dragon soul originally belonged to Long Chen. Since it's in your possession and you aren't of much use to it, why not give it to Long Chen? I'm sure he'll repay this favor in the future." The luminous gold ancestor's expression was gloomy, but he didn't say anything. He knew that his shocked expression had exposed him. Moreover, everyone present knew that he had obtained that item. An origin dragon soul had entered this place a minor epoch ago. The origin dragon soul wanted to hide itself, but the luminous gold ancestor sensed it. He then refined it and hid it in his body. It was too late for him to quibble and hide it now. The luminous gold ancestor would feel terrible if he had to hand over such a treasure. He gritted his teeth and sneered.
"The three of you are truly shameless.
The so-called treasure belongs to whoever has it. It doesn't mean that it has to be given to the descendant of the original owner. I've been with this treasure for an epoch.
Do you think I have to hand it over just because you say you want it?"
Long Chen came out of his divine nation at this time. He said with a good attitude, "Luminous gold ancestor, to be honest, the origin dragon soul is really useless to you. However, I am the one who wants revenge and the hope of rebuilding the dragons. I hope that the luminous gold ancestor can give it to me. If that's the case, I'll definitely repay this favor if I accomplish something in the future." Impossible. The luminous gold ancestor was furious. He was the absolute overlord here, but after Long Chen's group arrived, he was restricted in all aspects, which made him very unhappy. Even breaking the walls was something he had no choice but to do. Long Chen wanted to say a few more words, but the Chaos Ancestral God said, "Forget it. This guy is only amenable to force. He won't give up until he sees his coffin. If we don't threaten him enough, he probably won't let us go so easily."
"What do you want to do, Ancestor?"
"Just watch." The primal chaos ancestor was indeed domineering.
His 9-colored eyes looked at the luminous gold ancestor. Since you won't let go and we have to have it, we can only rob it. Luminous gold ancestor, devil silver ancestor, you two won't listen to my advice. Don't blame me for being merciless.
With that, he exchanged glances with the primal war ancestor.
The two didn't say anything else and used the world's origin energy to attack the luminous gold ancestor and devil silver ancestor. Of course, before that, Long Chen had reached the primal chaos ancestor's divine nation. Now, it would be up to the primal chaos ancestor to put pressure on them. Retreat to the destruction ancestor's realm. The luminous gold ancestor was furious. The other side's mercilessness had exceeded his expectations.
Seeing that the other side was really going to fight, he could only let the fifth era's progenitor gods return to the destruction ancestor's realm first.
Otherwise, it would be troublesome if one of them was captured as a hostage. The fifth era's progenitor gods scattered in panic when they saw that they were about to fight again. They flew back to the sealed destruction ancestor's realm from different directions. As for the luminous gold ancestor and devil silver ancestor, they naturally came to stop Long Chen's group. All of you deserve to die. The fourth era's progenitor gods from both sides immediately started fighting. Because of the luminous gold ancestor and devil silver ancestor's interception, the fifth era's progenitor gods successfully hid in the destruction ancestor's realm, making it even more sealed. They were terrified and could only hope that the luminous gold ancestor and devil silver ancestor could stop and suppress these two terrifying progenitor gods. The destruction ancestor's realm welcomed an unprecedented battle between 4 progenitor gods from the fourth era. In an instant, the shockwaves of the battle spread across the destruction ancestor's realm, covering billions of starry skies, space, and shattered stars. If they continued to be destroyed, the entire world would become riddled with holes. Primal Chaos Lotus Throne. The Primal Chaos Ancestor God used the Primal Chaos 9-color lotus to unleash a law. Primal Chaos elemental energy condensed into a giant lotus throne that was 1/10 the size of the entire Destruction Ancestor's realm. The Primal Chaos Ancestor God controlled the Primal Chaos lotus throne and smashed it at the luminous gold ancestor like a giant boulder. Every time he attacked, billions of space would be destroyed. Courting death. The luminous gold ancestor was furious. He had never been bullied like this in billions of years. He was going crazy. For the current Long Chen, this battle could be considered a grand feast. He was carefully observing.
Although the laws were different, he could figure out why the other party was so powerful.
This was also a kind of harvest. Bas. Everything was shattering. In reality, the Primal Chaos Ancestor God wasn't fighting the luminous gold ancestor. He was fighting while moving. Until he reached the destruction ancestor's realm. The luminous gold ancestor's eyes were about to pop out. I'll stop when you hand over the origin dragon's soul of the heart-refining dragon. The Primal Chaos Ancestor God understood that he could only use force against an existence like the luminous gold ancestor. He wasn't willing to be captured without putting up a fight. The forceful method was to force. Primal Chaos Lotus Throne. The giant Primal Chaos Lotus Throne was smashed by the Primal Chaos Ancestor God and smashed into the warship formed by the Destruction Ancestor's realm. Although the Destruction Ancestor's realm was sealed, the collision of the giant Primal Chaos Lotus Throne still caused a huge explosion. The shockwave swept across countless starry skies. Within the warship, countless frozen life forms were moved. The fifth era's progenitor gods that were bitterly holding on were all dizzy from the impact. Given my strength, your world won't be able to hold on for long. Make a decision soon. The Primal Chaos Ancestor God shouted coldly. Another intense tremor was unleashed. The Primal Chaos Lotus Throne smashed into the warship again, causing the warship to tremble and the Destruction Ancestor's realm to change. Chapter 3573. Third time. The fourth time. The successive collisions brought a destructive blow to the destruction ancestral domain. As he watched this scene, Long Chen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The Chaos Ancestral God's decisive character is really similar to mine. On the other side, the Primordial War Ancestor also took advantage of the gap in the battle to bombard the ancestral realm of destruction. Although this behavior was a bit despicable from the other party's point of view, they were now enemies, so there was no need to pay attention to this. Moreover, up until now, it had not reached the extent of harming the living beings within. However, as long as the formation was broken,
there would definitely be hundreds of millions of casualties. The primal Chaos Ancestor God was also attacking the vast Gold Ancestor. He was a bit stronger than the vast Gold Ancestor, so the vast Gold Ancestor was unable to stop his attacks on the Destruction Ancestor domain.
The fifth time.
The greatest tremor of all caused the elder gods inside to vomit blood.
Bright Gold Ancestor, it's your selfishness that harmed them. The primal Chaos Ancestor God's voice echoed within the Destruction Ancestral domain. Give it back to him. Return it to him. The elder gods who had been bitterly holding on were all waiting for this moment. They couldn't hold on any longer, and they hoped that the luminous Gold Ancestor would return what belonged to Long Chen to him. All the pressure was on the luminous Gold Ancestor. Spiritually, physically. Seeing the Destruction Ancestral domain tremble again, the bright Gold Ancestor knew that he couldn't hold on any longer. Here, I'll give you. Finally, he said these words. After all, the Destruction Ancestral domain wasn't his.
Even the devilish Silver Ancestor was waiting for him to hand over the Origin Dragon Soul.
In fact, there was no need at all. He should have known that this would happen.
If he had given it to me from the start, I would still owe him a favor, and I would still have to return it in the future.
Long Chen understood this. After the bright Gold Ancestor made his decision, the primal Chaos Ancestral God and the primal War Ancestor both stopped. The ancestral gods in the Destruction Ancestral domain heaved a sigh of relief and collapsed to the ground. He's really amazing. They were lamenting about the Fourth Era's progenitor god. Hurry up. Don't waste time. In front of the primal Chaos Ancestral God was the bright Gold Ancestor. Boom. Right at this moment, his golden body split open. Countless black and white streams of air converged in front of his chest, finally forming the Origin Dragon Soul of the heart-refining dragon of the Divine Tao. Bas! The Divine Dragon roared. Come in. Long Chen summoned the Origin Dragon Soul with the Karma Halberd, and it flew into the primal Ancestor God's Divine Nation. The Divine Nation was sealed, and Long Chen really did obtain the World Essence and Origin Dragon Soul of the Divine Tao heart-refining dragon. At this point, the fifth Ancestral Dragon, the Origin Dragon Soul, and the World Essence were all in his hands. A new complete Ancestral Dragon was about to be born. It was a Divine Tao heart-refining dragon that was good at fighting. Judgment War God. Within the God Nation, Long Chen was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to fuse with it. However, it would take some time. Hence, he decided to hold back and stabilize the Origin Dragon Soul first. He would fuse with it when he returned. He had to bring the Origin Dragon Soul into his God Kingdom to ensure that nothing would go wrong. The battle was over. The luminous Gold Ancestor and the Devil Silver Ancestor gathered together. The primal Chaos Ancestor and the primal War Ancestor gathered together. As such, there was enmity between the two sides. Although the bright Gold Ancestor had handed over the item, the resentment in his heart wouldn't disappear in a short period of time. However, the Chaos Ancestral God also proved to him that it was definitely not a good idea to keep them here. Let's go and continue destroying the tunnel. Don't worry. We're all reasonable people. There will be no change to the promises I made to you before. If you run into any difficulties and need our help, I believe that Long Chen won't hesitate to help. To you, what you've lost isn't important. I don't think you'll let this matter affect our relationship, right? The Chaos Ancestral God said. The bright Gold Ancestor waved his hand and didn't say anything else. However, he did get up and went to the place where he had destroyed the tunnel. After this interlude, it was time to start anew. The two sides met again and shook hands. Thank you, both of you. The primordial War Ancestor said. You're welcome. Come in and count it as our misfortune. The devilish Silver Ancestor didn't look too good either. Fortunately, they didn't have any objections to opening the tunnel. After all, they wanted to get rid of these two as soon as possible. Keeping them here wasn't a long-term solution. Continue the destruction. Long Chen waited. It went on for a long time. Finally, at a certain point, they went very deep and finally broke through the tunnel with one final attack. After breaking through, the first thing that changed were the walls. Baz! All of a sudden, all the steel walls disappeared. The entire Destruction Ancestral Realm and the starry sky of the Second Era Yuan Grotto seemed to be connected to the starry sky of the Infinite Worlds. This was a huge commotion. Not just the Destruction Ancestral Realm, but the entire Infinite Worlds were shaking and emitting terrifying rumbles. This was a great change to the Infinite Worlds. This place, Estimating the location, the entire Destruction Ancestral Realm seemed to be connected to the Eastern Star region. The territory outside the time tunnel was equivalent to expanding a tenth of the infinite worlds. Boom! With a final loud noise, it finally formed. We're back in the infinite worlds. Long Chen heaved a sigh of relief. This opportunity had been dangerous, but it had also yielded an unexpected harvest. This is the Dragon Sacrificial Realm. The Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor looked around in shock. On the Destruction Ancestral Realm side, a large number of Ancestor gods also appeared, poking their heads out to look at this vast world. It seemed that the Second Era Yuan Grotto was indeed too small. The Dragon Sacrificial Realm is so big, so big. The strongest here are the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others. We don't have to be afraid of descending into the infinite worlds. That's right. We're not enemies with them. Although they were very nervous at first, they vaguely felt a sense of excitement after arriving in the infinite worlds. The Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor fell silent for a long time. In fact, before the Ancestor gods returned, they had dreamed of coming here to rule the world. Later, when the Ancestor gods returned, they gave up. They just didn't expect to return. I just don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. The Bright Gold Ancestor sighed. He had probably put the matter of losing the Origin Dragon Soul to the back of his mind. To be honest, the arrival of the Destruction Ancestral Realm had caused a huge commotion. Moreover, the Destiny Star Ancestor and the Primordial Chaos Ancestor God had been looking for the Chaos Ancestor Gods. Now that there was a commotion, they knew that it might be related to the Chaos Ancestor Gods, so they quickly arrived. The Fourth Era's Ancestor Gods appeared here at a terrifying speed. They were the most powerful, so of course they were the fastest to arrive. However, the Chaos Cave Ancestor, Sacred Ancestor Kitagarbha, and the others also heard the commotion and quickly used powerful means to come here. In an instant, it seemed that all 17 Fourth Era's Ancestor Gods had arrived. Including the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others, there were 19 in total. The Fifth Era's Ancestor Gods from other worlds also arrived one after another. Seeing the 17 Fourth Era's Ancestor Gods, even the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others were frightened. The Ancestor Gods even retreated back into the Destruction Ancestral Realm. However, the Ancestor Gods who had just arrived were also very puzzled and curious. Long Chen came out of the Chaos Ancestor God's divine kingdom and said in front of everyone, these two, and the huge world behind them, a mysterious place from the infinite worlds, the Second Era's Yuan Grotto. This is a world that was born naturally and appeared in the Second Era. It's different from our world. The Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor were two Destruction Ancestor Gods who had cultivated to the Fourth Era by themselves. The entire Destruction Ancestral Realm has more than 1,000 Destruction Ancestor Gods. From today on, the Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor are our best friends and will join the Infinite Worlds. I also hope that everyone can treat them as members of the Infinite Worlds and coexist under the same rules. The Chaos Ancestor God said, "That's right." The Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor, as well as the 9 Fifth Era's Ancestor Gods, can all join the Ancestor Gods Alliance. They will be protected by the Ancestor Gods Alliance. This was also something they had done for the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others. After all, they had come to the Infinite Worlds because of him. Hearing this, the Elder Gods were still stunned. However, they had heard of the Third Epoch's Primal Grotto, so they weren't too shocked about the Second Epoch's Primal Grotto. But two Fourth Epoch Annihilation Elder Gods? This was a huge shock to the myriad worlds. Chapter 3574. Facing the Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devilish Silver Ancestor, the Fourth Epoch's Primordial Ancestor Gods had different thoughts. In reality, since they had come to the Infinite Worlds, they could either join the Ancestor Gods Alliance. Together, they could build a common order, maintaining the stability of the myriad worlds. Otherwise they could only be destroyed. Two Fourth Epoch progenitor gods were obviously unrealistic. Therefore, there was basically no doubt that they would be allowed to join the Ancestral Gods Alliance. All of a sudden, everyone agreed to let the Infinite Worlds have one more ally. However, at this time, the Chaotic Cave Ancestor and the other 6 were secretly discussing. Two Fourth Epoch primordial ancestral gods, and they are even Destruction Ancestral Gods. This is simply a heavy bomb. It will definitely have a huge impact on our myriad worlds.
The scariest thing is that they were brought to the myriad worlds by Long Chen, so they are obviously on their side. In this case, they already have 10 ancestral gods of the 4th era.
How are we going to fight them?
Moreover, have you noticed that Long Chen's slaughter world source has already advanced into the 6th era? Clearly, it has grown stronger and is gradually going beyond our control.
At this point, they were all anxious. I don't think so.
After careful observation, Common People Emperor Ancestor said, "Look closely. It is obvious that Bright Gold Ancestor, Devil Silver Ancestor, and Primal Chaos Ancestor God fought. There are traces of Primal Chaos Ancestor God's attacks on the destroyed ancestral domain." Observing their expressions, although they were standing close to each other, the Luminous Gold Ancestor was clearly still angry and resentful towards the Chaos Ancestral God. I dare say that when they destroyed the ancestral realm, there must have been a huge conflict. The Luminous Gold Ancestor and the Devil Silver Ancestor aren't from the other side, but from our side.
What?
They observed carefully and found that it was indeed the case. The Luminous Gold Ancestor and the Primal Chaos Ancestral God had clearly just fought. Chaos Whole Ancestor Shaman said, "My guess is that the Primal Chaos Ancestor God and the others wanted to come out, but this would cause the world to descend into the myriad worlds.
They might need to destroy something.
If I was the Bright Gold Ancestor, I obviously wouldn't want to come to the myriad worlds. However, the Primal Chaos Ancestor God should have attacked this world as a form of oppression. In the end, the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others were convinced, so they came here.
Common People Emperor Ancestor is right. These two are our people. Our team will increase to 9 people." They were overjoyed.
Next, he had to pave the way for the Bright Gold Ancestor and the others. They were all very enthusiastic to let the Luminous Gold Ancestor know them. In the dark, the Chaotic Whole Ancestor conversed with the Bright Gold Ancestor and the Devil Silver Ancestor. "We're guessing that the two of you must have some sort of conflict with Long Chen, the Chaos Ancestral God, and the others, and are very displeased with them, right? After all, even in the myriad of worlds, they have gone too far and completely disregarded the feelings of others."
"Who are you?"
The Luminous Gold Ancestor was still on guard.
"I am the great shaman ancestor of the Chaotic Cave. Let me tell you the truth.
There are 7 of us in our team, and none of us want Long Chen to become the strongest ancestral dragon and rule over the myriad worlds. Therefore, they wanted to stop him as much as possible when he was growing, or even kill him. However, the other side has 8 people who are supporting Long Chen. The remaining 2 are neutral. For the time being, we are slightly weaker than them. However, if 2 of them join us, we will have a great chance of winning. As long as we kill Long Chen, we will have the right to speak." The Common People Emperor Ancestor said, "You are right. I think that if Long Chen's strength reaches the 3rd era, we won't be his match even if we work together. Your Destruction Ancestral region has offended him, so you should be able to guess the outcome. After all of you are Destruction Ancestral gods and are more dangerous than us. If he wants to kill all of you, he doesn't have to worry about the world being destroyed and mortals dying." In just a few sentences, he analyzed the pros and cons. The pain of losing the Origin Dragon soul was etched deep into his bones. Hearing this, he discussed with the Devil Silver Ancestor and then asked, "Can I trust all of you?" The Chaotic Whole Ancestor said, "I can swear that everything I have said to you today is true. Otherwise, I will die a horrible death." From their sincere attitude, it was true. The ancestral gods of the 4th era were vaguely divided into 2 camps. If they joined either side, it would be a disaster for the other side. At least in the Ancestral God Alliance, they had 10 votes. This was crucial. Moreover, their 5th era ancestral god had 9 votes. That was close to 30 votes, enough to influence the outcome. "That Long Chen did kill one of our 5th era ancestral gods in my world," the Bright Gold Ancestor said. He also knew that this fellow had limitless potential. "Then, this is a blood feud. We must take revenge." The Chaotic Whole Ancestor added fuel to the fire. As for the Origin Dragon soul, the Bright Gold Ancestor didn't say anything. On the other side, the Chaotic Whole Ancestor saw that they seemed to be communicating and hurriedly said to Long Chen, "This is bad. They seem to be fighting. The Bright Gold Ancestor hates us and was tempted by those 7. He will definitely join their camp, which will be bad for us. I didn't think of this before. If I did, I wouldn't have dealt with them so intensely."
Long Chen also didn't expect this, but it had already happened and he couldn't control the bright gold ancestor and the others.
He could only say, "This has nothing to do with you."
After all, we are enemies with the bright gold ancestor from the start. No matter how well we treat them, they won't get close to us. But, don't worry, I'm getting closer and closer to your realm.
I'll continue to cultivate and make it so that the 9 of them can't do anything to me.
The chaotic whole ancestor said, "That's all we can do. Also, you've become stronger recently. Your current accomplishments might be enough to make the other 2 ancestral gods decide. We'll fight for you in this regard." Many thanks.
No need to thank me.
This isn't your problem. It's the problem of the myriad worlds. There was no way to stop the alliance between the bright gold ancestor and the chaotic whole ancestor. Next, the Ancestral God Alliance and the 1,000 ancestral gods of the Destruction Ancestral Realm discussed the specific rules. Especially the rule that the ancestral gods couldn't kill each other. After all, the myriad worlds were all ancestral gods. Once an ancestral god died, the world would perish as well. The consequences would be severe. In order to survive in the myriad worlds, the destruction ancestral gods naturally agreed. Moreover, their world had a total of 29 votes. The other worlds only had 10 votes at most. They were also proud because they were the #1 world in the myriad worlds. Even the dragon sacrifice continent was far inferior to them. In the end, the ancestral gods left. The bright gold ancestor didn't hide it at all. He directly invited the chaotic whole ancestor and the other 6, as well as many ancestral gods of the 5th era who had sided with him, to the destruction ancestral realm. They were treated with the sky jade ancestral water. The scale was even greater than the previous time. I suddenly feel that being sealed in the destruction ancestral realm is meaningless. Coming to the myriad worlds, I feel restless and full of lofty sentiments. It feels better, the bright gold ancestor secretly said to the devil silver ancestor. Me too. Perhaps we should have come a long time ago. You want to kill that Long Chen together? The devil silver ancestor asked. I hate him. All right. Up to you. But I don't think there's much time left. After taking away the origin dragon soul of the divine Tao heart refining dragon, Long Chen will clearly become even stronger. The banquet was very joyous. What? That Long Chen defeated the Scarlet Gold Ancestor, the Milky Way Ancestor, and the Star Ancestor in an instant. He even kidnapped them? The wine cup in the Chi-Yu Ancestor's hand fell to the ground. He knew the Scarlet Gold Ancestor and the others, so he naturally knew their current level. The Scarlet Gold Ancestor was roughly equivalent to the 5th era's ancestral god in the middle of the 5th era. That's right, the Scarlet Gold Ancestor said. This sentence caused the surrounding area to fall silent. The chaotic whole ancestor coughed twice and said, We indeed don't have much time left. If you have any good ideas, everyone must think of something. Otherwise, we will have to worship this Long Chen for countless years to come. I don't care if you guys are convinced or not, but I am not convinced. I'm not convinced either. Long Chen wasn't interested in their gathering. He returned to the dragon sacrifice continent, saw his wife and children, and sorted out the trifles of the dragon sacrifice continent before going to the 4th floor of the Tower of Time. Next was to receive the divine Tao heart refining dragon's final inheritance. Chapter 3575. On the 4th floor of the Tower of Time. Most of the time, his wife and children were here. Long Chen could see them at any time. They were Long Chen's biggest concern. I'll become a heart-refining dragon first. After I become one of the 4 ancestor dragons, I believe I'll find the world source and origin dragon soul of the Umbra Dream Dragon. By then, you'll have the body of an ancestor dragon too. Long Chen said to Li Xuanji in his arms. Li Xuanji's eyes flickered. Actually, you can use many of your powers and rules. I'm not in a hurry. We'll follow your progress. Okay. I won't disturb you anymore. Let's form the origin dragon soul. There was plenty of time. Li Xuanji went to the dragon sacrifice continent. To her, the time spent in the Tower of Time was too long and torturous. Origin dragon soul. Long Chen released the origin dragon soul in his god nation. It was a black and gold dragon soul that represented justice, judgment, and order. Looking into the eyes of the source dragon soul would cause one to feel a sense of shock in one's heart. Imperceptibly,
one would be suppressed by its divine might, and would have to obey its order.
Karma, morality, judgment dragon, heart-refining dragon. Long Chen had been longing for it for a long time. He took out the Karma halberd.
Among the world origins, Karma seemed to be the biggest while life was the smallest.
It was just a ring. Roar! Seeing Karma, the origin dragon soul became excited.
The essence blood, the world origin, and the origin dragon soul converged.
Karma became the core. Long Chen and the origin dragon soul stood on each side. It's starting. This was the fourth time, so Long Chen was very experienced. Karma was also complete.
Revolving around the world origin, the fleshly body and the soul fused, finally converging and pouring into Karma, forming the divine Tao heart dragon's first world origin.
Bas!
Long Chen turned into a real heart-refining dragon and soared on the fourth floor of the Tower of Time.
Boom!
Such a domineering and disdainful attitude frightened many people in the surroundings. For example, Lingxi, Pangu, and many others who were cultivating on the fourth floor of the Tower of Time.
The ancestral dragon is really powerful. Many people could not help but sigh.
During the process of transforming into a dragon, Long Chen was constantly familiarizing himself with the true body of the divine Tao heart-refining dragon.
Every ancestor dragon was different.
The nature of the divine Tao heart-refining dragon was also different from other ancestral dragons. Only by understanding the ancestral dragon's heart could one become a true ancestral dragon. The divine Tao heart-refining dragon was about karma and judgment.
Karma, moral judgment.
Evildoers could not escape the eyes of the divine Tao heart-refining dragon.
Precipitation.
In the past year, he could be considered to have familiarized himself with the heart-refining dragon of the divinity way. He could basically be on par with the 4 ancestor dragons.
However, the primordial blood spirit dragon had 4 world origins, 3 of which were the void Aeon dragon and the Tai Chi living dragon. At this level, the divine Tao heart-refining dragon was temporarily unable to provide any help. Let's bring up the origin of karma first. Otherwise, it's basically useless. After all, the laws of karma were quite powerful. Moreover, because he had the experience of condensing the second, third, and even fourth world origins, this process was not difficult for Long Chen. All he needed was time. Time passed. This time, Long Chen was very successful. Perhaps it was because he was calm enough, and his trump cards were strong enough. In 1,000 years, the origin of 2 worlds had been added to the karma. A total of 3 world origins had been added. It was on par with the time and life. However, at this time, the fire of time and life had arrived. Long Chen entered the deepest level of the impact. After another 1,000 years, time had the origin of a 4th world, and stepped into the 6th era's ancestor realm. Moreover, it also comprehended many laws of time. After another 1,000 years, life also had the origin of a 4th world, and stepped into the 6th era's ancestor realm. Of course, the new laws of life were also under control. At this time, about 9,000 years had passed since the battle between Qi Yu and Pangu. There were only 1,000 years left. Long Chen paid attention and found that Pangu had almost expelled the terrifying 10,000 fiendish Qi. There's still karma left. Long Chen deeply understood how much he had improved this time. That was unprecedented progress. Unbelievable progress. He really did not expect that in 3,000 years after returning from the destruction ancestral territory, he would be able to do this. There were still 1,000 years until the final battle between the 5th era's ancestor gods. Of course, there was still a month left. Most of the ancestor gods who were going to participate in the battle had already made their preparations. Of course, Long Chen hoped that Pangu would win. That championship was more or less his. In any case, he could not let the Qi Yu demon ancestor take it. I wonder if I can take down the Qi Yu demon ancestor with my current ability? Long Chen thought. Forget it, continue. His goal was the origin of the 4th world of karma. About 900 years had passed. Because of the previous 3 experiences, he did not expect to succeed. From then on, Long Chen was simply perfect. The 4 great ancestor dragons had all entered the 6th era's ancestor god realm. The origin of each ancestor dragon's world was different from the ancestor god's world origins. They were more powerful. Now, the power of each world's origin was almost equivalent to a 5th era's ancestor god. Not to mention that he was equivalent to 4 5th era's ancestor gods.
Not to mention that he had ancestor dragon laws that surpassed the 5th era's ancestor gods. Obviously, only the most heaven-defying 5th era's ancestor god could compare to Long Chen. At this level, Long Chen was already confident that apart from the 4th era's ancestor god, no one in the infinite worlds could take his life. When I took away time, Qiyu demon ancestor heavily injured me with one punch and disregarded my life. In the Tomb of Reincarnation, he used the instant earth demon to take my life again. Until today. I am different. Until today, I still have the strength to fight him. There were about 100 years left in the 4th level of the Tower of Time, so it was only a few days in the infinite worlds. In fact, the grand battle of the 5th era's ancestor gods had long alarmed all the ancestor gods. In just a few days, almost all the ancestor gods had already arrived at the battlefield. Who was the strongest below the 4th era's ancestor god? Was it Qiyu demon ancestor, Luya ancestor god, Hongjun ancestor god, or Pangu? Before the battle started, no one could be sure. Of course, it was not easy for Long Chen to reach this realm. Of course, he had to rest for some time, accompany his wife and daughter, and guide his children. In the 4th level of the state of time, he spent a happy and stable period of time. He still wanted to have more children, so he naturally had a lot of time with Lingxi and Li Xuanji. It was just that it would not be easy to get pregnant again, unless Lingxi and the others were stronger. Now, both of Lingxi's world origins had reached the 5th era's ancestor realm. Compared to Long Chen, she had one more world origin. In terms of combat strength, she could actually be ranked in the top 10 of the 5th era. Long Chen sparred with her because she had 2 4th era's ancestor god laws. It was not easy to take her down, and he had to use his full strength. Kitten was still stuck in the 6th era's ancestor realm. But when he heard that the 4th era's ancestor god of destruction had appeared in this world, he was immediately motivated and vaguely wanted to rush to the 5th era's ancestor god realm. Everyone had a bright future ahead of them. But it was a pity for Xiao Lang. He was still in the 8th era's ancestor realm. In the myriad worlds, it was very difficult to find a fire that he could devour. Once he did, he would definitely soar to the sky. Before the battle, Long Chen went to Creation Ancestor God's side and accompanied Mo Xiaolang for a day. Big brother, from your current progress, I don't think you need 100 years. I think 5 years is enough. Mo Xiaolang was rather calm. He did not feel uncomfortable in this prison. A prison is a prison. I don't like it anyway. When I can resist the 4th era's ancestor god, I will bring you out. When that time comes, no one can control me, Long Chen said. Actually, as long as you believe in me, I don't care about anything, big brother. Big brother. Mo Xiaolang looked at him. Good brother. Long Chen hugged him and patted his shoulder. This damned myriad worlds, why is there nothing you can devour? I keep feeling that it will still exist. Don't be discouraged. He had always been the second strongest person in Long Chen's team. Therefore, Long Chen wanted him to be better. Big brother, you can't force this matter. Otherwise, it will be easier for the enemy to capture you. Chapter 3576. His life's goal was almost complete. Now he stood at the peak of all living beings. Your dream is my dream, Mo Xiaolang said sincerely. Long Chen was very touched. I'll take a few steps forward and take a look. If there's a chance, I won't let you fall behind. It was about time. He naturally had to go and take a look at the 5th era's ancestral god battle. After all, this was a crucial battle for the myriad worlds. A decisive battle. Big brother, after Long Chen left, Mo Xiaolang felt a little depressed. I am from the Sky Devouring clan, but I am also human. Where is my future? He was also a little confused. Fortunately, he had Xueqi on to keep him company. After returning to the 4th floor of the Tower of Time, Long Chen planned to take ancestor god Pangu to the battlefield. Many ancestor gods of the 4th era had been waiting there. The great battle of the 5th era's ancestor gods was about to erupt. Ancestor god Pangu's battle for vengeance would definitely be the center of attention. After 10,000 years recuperation in the Tower of Time, ancestor god Pangu should be fine. Long Chen arrived before Pangu and saw that Pangu was already waiting for him. How is it? Long Chen asked. The 10,000 fiend baleful qi has been completely expelled. It won't be a problem on the battlefield. Ancestor god Pangu stretched his back and spoke in an extremely amiable manner.
All right, let's go to the battlefield then. Long Chen looked forward to his performance this time. Don't be impatient. I have an idea that I'd like to share with you, Pangu suddenly said. He pondered for a moment, then said, "It's like this. Although I've expelled the 10,000 demon baleful qi in the past 10,000 years, my foundation is still slightly damaged. I haven't completely recovered to my peak state, so I might still need some time. Last time, I had an 80% chance of defeating Elder God Pangu. This time, however, I only have a 50% chance." He was only half confident. "However, I have suffered a great loss, so I must take revenge. What everyone wants to see is my revenge. Don't you think so?" "That's right. But only." A 50% chance was indeed not high. If he was defeated by the Qiyu demon ancestor, it would be troublesome. The other party would definitely be even more arrogant. This despicable person is really annoying when he's arrogant. Long Chen's hatred for the Qiyu demon ancestor had gradually grown. At first it was fine.
But now, especially the last time, if it weren't for the fact that he was an ancestor god of the creation world, Long Chen would have killed him.
"Thus, I have a new idea," Elder God Pangu said. "What?" "During this period of time, I've witnessed your strength and watched your battle with Lingxi. Actually, I can tell that even when I'm at full strength, I might not be a match for you now.
Now, we are in the midst of a battle between the most powerful elder gods of the Fifth Era. Your battle prowess is completely comparable to that of the elder gods of the Fifth Era.
Thus, how could you be left out of this final battle?" Ancestor God Pangu said. Of course, Long Chen wanted to participate in the battle and torture demon ancestor Qi Yu on the battlefield. "But the problem is that I didn't participate in the points battle, nor did I enter the top 8. How do we join the battle?" Long Chen asked in confusion. The Qi Yu fiend ancestor's thoughts were a little jumpy. "Actually, it's very simple. I don't have much confidence this time, but you do. You can replace me. Think about it, those on our side will definitely agree. But on their side, the chaotic whole ancestor and the others will be eager to find a chance to kill you. Especially demon ancestor Qi Yu, he wants to find a chance to kill you. Since he can't do it normally, he can only do so in a battle like this. This ancestor god battle is organized by the Ancestor God Alliance. Following that, Chaos Ancestor Gods expressed their support one by one. Soon, 8 fourth Epic Ancestor Gods supported him. Together with half of the 5th Epic Ancestor Gods, the votes were close to half. "I support him." At that moment, a neutral 4th Epic Ancestor God, Great Dream Heart Ancestor, supported Long Chen's participation in the battle. He instantly added 10 votes. With his support, the 5th Epic Ancestor God gained a few more votes. "Me too." Unexpectedly, the last neutral 4th Epic Ancestor God, Nature Ancestor, also expressed his stance at that moment. Another 10 votes instantly increased. Even the 4th Epic Ancestor God's side had more than 100 votes. In addition, more and more 5th Epic Ancestor Gods supported him. "I support him." Ancestor God Luya supported him. They all knew how powerful Ancestor God Pangu was. But what they wanted to know was what kind of sparks Pangu would create in the battle against Long Chen, who had been bragging about him to such an extent. "Me too," Ancestor God Hongjun said. At this point, the Ancestor God Alliance had more than the average person's support. Although the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others had yet to express their stance, this matter was already settled. "Thank you, Ancestor God. Since more than half of the Ancestor Gods agree, then Long Chen will officially replace me." This matter was quickly settled. There was no pressure. After all, Long Chen's conditions were special. He was more attractive than Ancestor God Pangu's battle for revenge. Everyone was curious. Hearing this, the surrounding Ancestor Gods actually cheered. It seemed that although they did not have the power to decide, they were still very excited. It seemed that to them, this battle was already exciting enough because of this interlude. "I'm afraid that Long Chen will be kicked out in the first battle. If that happened, both Ancestor God Pangu and himself would lose all face. They will not be able to raise their heads in the myriad worlds in the future." Everyone discussed.
Ancestor God Pangu patted Long Chen's shoulder and said, "It's up to you now.
There's already good news.
Great Dream Heart Ancestor and Nature Ancestor said that if you can take first place in this final battle, they will firmly support you. Let our fourth era's primordial ancestor god team expand to 10 people and suppress them.
You saw the situation today.
The two of them are very useful. It is because they support you replacing me that we won the votes. Otherwise, if the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others oppose, this plan will not succeed. Actually, with the addition of the two, the originally balanced scales would indeed be broken. The advantage was now gathered on Long Chen's side. Of course, all of this was under the premise that Long Chen could take first place in this battle.
This was not easy.
Although it was a boast, the fifth era's primordial ancestor gods who could reach this stage were not weaklings. Opposite them, the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others were discussing.
What the hell? Can Long Chen really reach this stage so quickly?
Around 4 months in my destruction ancestral domain, he is still no match for the Ghost Steel Ancestor, said the Bright Gold Ancestor.
Even if he has the Time World, can he rush to this stage in such a short time? In any case, I don't believe it. What are they trying to do?
Qiyu Ancestor said, "Everyone, I think that he wants to take first place, and then the remaining 2 fourth era's primordial ancestor gods might stand on his side because of this."
I see.
Clearly, this is the goal, to let Long Chen display himself. They finally understood. However, according to the Ancestral Gods Alliance's rules, this matter had already been confirmed. Although it is a little unpleasant and dangerous, this is a good opportunity to kill him.
Qiyu, I'll leave this matter to you.
The 9 fourth era's primordial ancestor gods had high hopes for Qiyu Ancestor. These old foxes, why didn't they announce it earlier? If they had announced it in advance, I could have made some arrangements, giving Qiyu more confidence in killing him, said the Chaos Whole Ancestor fiercely.
No need, I have confidence in killing him, said Qiyu Ancestor firmly.
In any case, you must stop him no matter what, and don't let him take first place. It's best if you don't let him display himself. Of course, if you can kill him, don't be lenient. The stability of the myriad worlds depends on you, Qiyu.
No problem.
Qiyu Ancestor's eyes were blood red, and his 4 fists were already clenched tightly. I didn't expect that I would meet you here. This is my last chance. Long Chen, you're the one who wants to die. Qiyu Ancestor's heart surged with anger. He had seized the world origin several times. He had even let Long Chen escape the last time. Even he, Qiyu Ancestor, had recovered with great difficulty. This time, perhaps he had fulfilled the promise that Long Chen had made to defeat him within a year.
You really came.
Look down on me, Qiyu. You will die a terrible death. Actually, if there was a vote just now, he, Qiyu Ancestor, would definitely support Long Chen's participation in the battle.
Let me take a look at the battle flow. Chapter 3578.
First battle. Ancestor God Luya. The skinny man appeared in Long Chen's vision. An ancestor god in a tattered robe. Like heavenly deity Luya, this ancestor god's eyes were in the shape of the 8 trigrams. He was heavenly deity Luya's ancestor. Tao Ancestor Luya. He remembered that Tao Ancestor Luya was now on Long Chen's side and supported Long Chen. He had thought that his first opponent would be Ancestor God Pangu, which meant that he had no hope of winning. Now that it was Long Chen, there was some suspense. Seeing that Long Chen was looking at him, he smiled at Long Chen and transmitted his voice. Although I'm on your side, I won't go easy on you in this battle. If you want to get first place, you'll have to get through me first. If I can't deal with you, you'll have to face the demon ancestor Qiyu later. That'll be even worse. Don't worry, I will satisfy the Tao Ancestor. Tao Ancestor Luya's Tao was the great Tao, the great laws. He naturally could not be underestimated. Tao Ancestor Luya, Demon Ancestor Qiyu, and finally Ancestor God Hongjun. After replacing Pangu, the 3 possible opponents were indeed quite heaven-defying. Why are you confident? Chaos Ancestor God asked. Long Chen said, I am somewhat confident, but the specifics will depend on the actual battle. A total of 8 5th-era Ancestor Gods. For today's battle, the most important thing for Long Chen was the support of Great Dream Heart Ancestor and Nature Ancestor. If he could get their help, the future of the 10,000 worlds would basically be clear. Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others would basically lose the ability to fight against Long Chen, especially when Long Chen continued to advance. He was clearly approaching the 4th era Ancestor God. No one in the world could destroy the divine bodies of the 4 Ancestor Dragons. In the blink of an eye, the highly anticipated battle of the 5th era Ancestor Gods began under the witness of all the Ancestor Gods. The Ancestor Gods were extremely far away, and the 19 4th era Ancestor Gods set up a huge sealed battlefield for the Ancestor Gods to fight within, and the victor would be decided under the witness of the 10,000 worlds. The first battle was between Ancestor God Hongjun and his opponent. Long Chen had noticed Ancestor God Hongjun before this. He was extremely powerful, and was in no way weaker than Ancestor God Pangu. This time, he was facing an opponent who was in no way inferior to Elder God Luya. The battle began at this moment. The hearts of countless Elder Gods were seething with excitement as they battled. Buzz! The origin power of the world swept across the battlefield. Pop! In less than 30 breaths of time, Ancestor God Hongjun had used an extremely dominating method to obtain victory.
Do you see that?
Long Chen, Elder God Hongjun, is even more powerful than Fiend Ancestor Qi Yu. In fact, your real opponent today is him. The Chaos Ancestral God whispered to Long Chen.
I understand.
Long Chen knew very well that the Qi Yu demon ancestor was actually below Pangu and Hongjun.
Everyone knew why he defeated Pangu the last time.
After Ancestor God Hongjun won, he seemed to hear the Chaos Ancestral God and Long Chen discussing him. He glanced over. He was also an Ancestor God who stood on Long Chen's side. Thus, he revealed a hint of a smile and didn't say anything else. The Great Dream Heart Ancestor and the Nature Ancestor have invited Hongjun to use his full strength. Thus, if you can charge to the point where you are his enemy, he won't hold back. If you hold back in the slightest, those 2 Ancestor Gods will easily discover it. When that happens, they won't be able to accept it.
I understand as well.
Long Chen had a rough idea of what would happen in today's battle.
Soon, the second battle came to an end.
In the third battle, Fiend Ancestor Qi Yu took the stage. The battle between Long Chen and Dao Ancestor Luya took place in the final battle, which was also the 4th battle. In the second battle, the 2 Ancestor Gods fought with great difficulty. In the end, the victor won by a narrow margin. From the looks of it, that person wasn't a match for Ancestor God Hongjun. Therefore, Ancestor God Hongjun was basically guaranteed to enter the top 2. In the third battle, Fiend Ancestor Qi Yu fought with Long Chen. He fought violently and his ability was indeed extraordinary. Not long after, he successfully defeated his opponent and still maintained a relatively strong battle strength. After the battle ended, he looked at Long Chen with his blood-red eyes and laughed coldly.
You must win. I can't wait, Long Chen. I'm looking forward to seeing you boast to such an extent today. I want to see how strong you are. In the previous few battles, I was the one who humiliated you. I hope that this time, you can fight against me like a man. Otherwise, I will look down on you forever. Up to you.
Next, it was Long Chen's battle. Frankly speaking, the first 3 battles were basically within the expectations of all the Ancestor Gods present. Hongjun and Qi Yu, the 2 undefeated Ancestor Gods, maintained their undefeated record once again. If Long Chen didn't participate, then Ancestor God Pangu would probably be slightly stronger than Dao Ancestor Luya. Now that the challenger had changed, almost all the Ancestor Gods were extremely curious about Long Chen's current strength. Therefore, when the 4th battle arrived, it became the most attention-grabbing battle, the one that caused everyone's blood to boil. In the eyes of the countless Ancestor Gods, Long Chen had always been a heaven-defying oddball. Actually, Lingxi's progress was already very terrifying. It was just that her brilliance was still overshadowed by Long Chen. Now, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Long Chen and Dao Ancestor Luya entered the sealed battlefield. Under the arrangements of the 4th epoc's Ancestor Gods, there was a starry sky inside. It was boundlessly vast, enough for them to fight and even destroy. In front of them, Dao Ancestor Luya stepped on an enormous 8 trigrams diagram. He came from the void, looking extremely otherworldly. Billions of worlds were under his control. Long Chen, it has begun. In today's sparring, we will know who is stronger and who is weaker.
Buzz buzz.
Dao Ancestor Luya's voice echoed in the merciless void. No one announced the battle,
but it had already begun. In Tao Ancestor Luya's hand, a snow-white flying dagger appeared. He pinched the flying dagger with 2 fingers and waved it casually, as if it was about to slit throats. After the flying dagger were thousands of 8 trigrams diagrams. Immortal Slaying Flying Dagger. This was Tao Ancestor Luya's world essence. The heaven god world was built upon this immortal slaying flying dagger. The 5th epoch's world essence. Flying daggers have no eyes. Please be careful. Tao Ancestor Luya was very courteous. Before he attacked, he even gave an extra warning. Outside the battlefield, everyone was already holding their breath. Even the 4th epoch's ancestor gods could not fully grasp the situation of the battle. In their eyes, Long Chen and Tao Ancestor Luya were already experts infinitely close to their level. Long Chen held the slaughter ring in his hand, the life ring on his finger, the time chain on his arm, and the karma ring hidden in his heart, ready to fight at any time. The 4 world essences were all ready for battle. Great Tao Murderous Will. Suddenly, Tao Ancestor Luya attacked. Under the rules, the flying dagger was just a flash of light. In an instant, heaven and earth seemed to fuse with the rules. It was just a single rule, but it seemed to encompass all the rules in the world. All the power of heaven and earth fused into one, and then it displayed the pinnacle of murderous will. Nothing was spared from the great Tao Murderous Will. Blood-colored dragon scales covered Long Chen's body. He felt the most terrifying murderous will besides himself. Because of this, his primordial blood spirit dragon body was not convinced. In terms of the massacre rule, the primordial blood spirit dragon wanted to be number 1. Cosmic Blood Rain. The great Tao Murderous Will was just a flash of light, the light of certain death. And now, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Long Chen brandished his massacre. Laws swept out and instantly, the sky was filled with a rain of blood that instantly covered the entire battlefield. The raindrops on the entire battlefield were endless sword chi. Whoosh! The cosmic blood rain fell. It seemed like it had missed the great Tao Murderous Will. It seemed like the great Tao Murderous Will had broken through the endless blood rain, but in reality, that was not the case. In that instant, the endless blood rain disappeared, blocking the great Tao Murderous Will and condensing into a blood-colored blade. When the blade was formed, that was the true killing intent. The endless cosmic blood rain turned into a blood-colored sword. The great Tao Murderous Will was pure and unparalleled. As for the cosmic blood rain, it was ferocious and extremely murderous. To Long Chen, his opponent only had the intent, but not the substance. He did not just have the massacre Tao. Ding! The great Tao Murderous Will's rules clashed with the blood-colored sword. The sharpest part of it clashed. Layer by layer. Wang! In an instant, the murderous will collided and swept out, almost leaking out of the battlefield. Bang! Chapter 3579. He blocked it. In truth, in the past, Long Chen would definitely not have been able to fight Tao Ancestor Luya. Although he had only blocked it, it was enough to shock many. For example, the Chaos Cave Ancestor and the others. Qiyu, looks like it won't be easy for you to defeat Long Chen, Demon Ancestor Qiyu said. Not bad indeed. He has improved greatly. However, he will only be my opponent after he defeats Luya. We'll talk about it then. As he spoke, in the battlefield, Long Chen and Tao Ancestor Luya had already clashed again. Eye of Heavenly Tao. Tao Ancestor Luya attacked again. In truth, Long Chen was very calm. He did not attack first. This was his first time fighting such an opponent. He chose to endure it and experience his opponent's strength and terror. That way, he would have a deeper understanding of his current realm. Therefore, he allowed Tao Ancestor Luya to attack first. Moreover, this was only his first opponent. Long Chen did not want to reveal all his trump cards. Tao Ancestor Luya used the Eye of Heavenly Tao nomological law. It was truly heaven-defying. In his hand, the immortal slaying flying saber instantly split into a million. With Tao Ancestor Luya as the core, countless shining immortal slaying flying sabers lined up, shining brilliantly. In the blink of an eye, they formed a huge eye beside Tao Ancestor Luya. It was the Eye of Heavenly Tao, boundlessly huge. Tao Ancestor Luya was at the core of this eye. Before Long Chen, the eye formed by the immortal slaying flying saber could no longer be seen. To him it was an eye.
It was the eye of the entire world. Bright like the divine might of the heavenly Tao, boundless and filled with awe-inspiring power. The suppression of the ancestral soul. 1. The eye of heavenly Tao was completely different from the killing intent of the great Tao. It surpassed the previous ones and gave Long Chen an unprecedented impact. Under the vast eye of heavenly Tao, Long Chen could not help but sigh. Every fifth-era ancestral god that could reach the top 8 was truly extraordinary. The eye of heavenly Tao shocked everyone present. Many ancestral gods could not help but discuss. If not for Long Chen, Tao ancestor Luya should be ranked 4th. That's right. The eye of the heavenly Tao was clearly stronger than even elder god Hun Kuan. One could see that the huge eye on the battlefield had completely enveloped Long Chen. What was Long Chen's fate? This was what everyone was concerned about. Amidst all the light, the ancestral soul's shock and the dazzling light made Long Chen fully aware of how terrifying this rule was, but it did not scare him. He was now equivalent to 4 ancestral dragons. I'll use you to break it. Among the 4 ancestral dragons, Long Chen chose the Void Cosmic Dragon. 3 lives, 3 worlds, past life, present life. The chains of time were connected in Long Chen's hands, forming a ring. The ring spun in front of Long Chen's eyes, instantly forming a vortex of time. The vortex of time expanded in a very short period of time, and in the blink of an eye, it had enveloped the eye of the heavenly Tao. Break past life. Break present life. In fact, the creator god did not have a past life or present life, but Long Chen's time rule allowed him to truly trace back to the most ancient times and directly pass through time. This was the foundation of time travel. For example, at this moment, Long Chen stretched out his hand and passed through the vortex. When his hand was removed from the vortex, it was already in the past. At that time, Tao ancestor Luya had just used the eye of the heavenly Tao, and Long Chen had passed through it, striking Tao ancestor Luya with an eternal time finger. Boom! In that instant, the entire eye of the heavenly Tao collapsed. It exploded into countless pieces. Only the immortal slaying flying saber remained. In an instant, the starry sky changed, and countless stars gathered. There were billions of them. Under Tao ancestor Luya's control, billions of stars condensed under his control. Every 100 million stars condensed into an astral serpent. There were 10,000 astral serpents, each of which was different in color and had different das. The 10,000 das content swept out, and the expressions of many ancestor gods changed again. They had thought that Long Chen had secured victory, but that was not the case. Tao ancestor Luya attacked again, and even Qiyu ancestor's expression changed because he was not sure that he could withstand such a killing move. The difference between Tao ancestor Luya and Qiyu ancestor was so small that it was almost negligible. In an instant, the crowd was in an uproar again. Kill! 10,000 astral silver serpents attacked like 10,000 Taos contend. The entire battlefield had become the domain of the astral silver serpents. Now, everyone was looking forward to Long Chen's performance. Would he still be able to break the stalemate? The answer was, of course, yes. No matter how ferocious the laws were, Long Chen's previous battles had given him immense confidence. Now, at this critical moment, under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, he put away his killing intent and a halberd appeared in his hand. Karma War Halberd. Because of the appearance of karma, the blood-colored dragon scales on Long Chen's body began to evenly turn black and white. From a dragon of slaughter, he had directly transformed into a dragon of judgment. A keeper of order, a judge, a true ruler. With the war halberd in hand, he hacked furiously in all directions. Ancestral dragon heavenly tribulation. Long Chen brandished the karma war halberd, which gave birth to a golden dragon and a black divine dragon. The 2 divine dragons wrapped around the karma war halberd, occasionally transforming into lightning, occasionally transforming into flames. The seemingly simple twin dragons contained the heaven-defying power of judgment. Break! At this moment, Long Chen wielded the twin dragons and clashed fiercely with Tao ancestor Luya, who wielded 10,000 snakes. The furious dragons soared into the sky, devouring the heavens and destroying the earth. Under the astonished gazes of countless elder gods, Long Chen's incomparably domineering power of judgment tore apart one giant serpent after another. Although Long Chen was inferior to his opponent in terms of numbers, it was an overwhelming victory. Rip! The black and gold dragons swept through the battlefield, tearing apart countless astral silver serpents in a very short period of time. Finally, only Tao ancestor Lu Ya was left under the control of the twin dragons. He stopped attacking and revealed a bitter smile. I've lost. Indeed, the ancestral dragon Heavenly Tribulation had destroyed his 10,000 Daos struggle. With 10,000 Daos destroyed, he had completely lost. Actually, the final battle had ended very quickly. The 10,000 elder gods were still marveling at Tao ancestor Lu Ya's power when the battle was over. Looking at Tao ancestor Lu Ya between the twin dragons, everyone knew that he had no choice but to admit defeat. Long Chen had achieved a resounding victory in this battle. Very good. The primal chaos elder gods and the others could not help but laugh. The opening had gone very smoothly. Just this battle alone had announced to the 10,000 realms that Long Chen had won. Now, he was the strongest person below the Fourth Era's primal ancestor god. Apart from the Fourth Era's primal ancestor god, no one could control him. Not even the Fourth Era's primal ancestor god would be able to do so. This also meant that the day Long Chen controlled the 10,000 realms was not far away. Of course, to the Chaos Cave ancestor and the others, this was a nightmare. Is there going to be a civil war among the ancestral gods because of their battle today? Then which side should we stand on when the time comes? For a moment, all the ancestral gods who were watching the battle were somewhat flustered. The entire huge battlefield, and even the entire myriad realms, were in an uproar. The experts of the fiend gods and the fiend gods were probably aware of the change in the group of heaven-defying ancestral gods this time. Long Chen was the mastermind behind all of this. If Long Chen can win, he will be able to unify the myriad realms in the future. There will be no more civil wars and conflicts between the myriad realms. You're thinking too much. When he has such great power, our lives will be worthless in his eyes. When the time comes, the myriad realms will have to submit to his tyrannical power, and we will be even more miserable. Almost all the ancestral gods were restless, but for Long Chen and the others, there was only the intense battle at the moment. The battle against the fiend gods. The crucial battle. In the future, if I want to take control of the myriad realms, I will have to get past fiend ancestor Qiyu. If I don't take control of the myriad realms, it will only be a matter of time before the myriad realms fall into chaos and infighting. Long Chen's eyes were blazing, and he was filled with a will to fight. Instant demon. Fiend ancestor Qiu's first attack was the fiend god laws that had nearly killed Long Chen. Back in the tomb of Samsara, Long Chen had been completely unable to resist. And now, Instant Demon was attacking once more. Countless fiend god shadows churned within the vortex of demonic aura. Instant Demon's slaughter was everywhere. A massive shadow enveloped Long Chen's body, descending upon his flesh and blood. Under fiend ancestor Qiu's command, fiend god images appeared within his flesh and blood. They were the images that were tearing at his flesh and blood. Die! Fiend ancestor Qiu had changed his laws in order to kill Long Chen as quickly as possible, so that the primal chaos ancestral gods and the others wouldn't have a chance to counterattack. In his heart and in his mouth, he was seething with rage. Long Chen must die. The higher one was, the more they didn't want to be controlled. It was the same for fiend ancestor Qiu. But in the face of all this, Long Chen remained calm. His eyes shone with emerald green light. Amidst the countless black vortexes, no matter how much demonic aura surged, he remained unmoved. On his finger, the dragon-headed ring shone with the light of life. It was sparkling and translucent, and inside the dragon-headed ring was an endless emerald world of life. It was a manifestation of power. Countless emerald green lives were rapidly changing in a whirlpool-like wind. Samsara of life. This was a completely new part of the life laws. It took at least several centuries for Long Chen to completely understand it. The samsara of life was a vortex of life. Under Long Chen's control, the vortex swept outwards, and the emerald green light expanded endlessly. What is that? It seems to be emerald green life force. All the elder gods saw it. Originally, Long Chen had already been devoured by fiend ancestor Qiu's demonic aura. But soon, a speck of emerald green energy appeared within the vortex of demonic aura. That energy was like a vortex, constantly expanding and revolving within it at a terrifying speed.
Buzz.
In an instant, the emerald green vortex expanded explosively. In an extremely short period of time, it tore through Fiend Ancestor Chio's boundless world of darkness, shattering it into pieces.
Boom.
The emerald green vortex broke free from Fiend Ancestor Chio's control. The black and green energies suddenly separated. They stood as equals. However, the emerald green vortex was even larger. Amidst the terrifying swirling life force, one could see that Long Chen was at the very center of the vortex. His long hair fluttered. In this samsara of life, he had become the ruler of all life. As for Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu, he was filled with confidence. He could no longer control Long Chen. Instead, he allowed Long Chen to easily break free. Now, his entire body was trembling. The emerald green energy had transformed into thousands of Taiji dragons that were wreaking havoc on his enormous body.
Scram.
The demonic body had the rumbling power of origin of the world. The origin of the 5 worlds gathered together and gave birth to endless power. They transformed into demonic claws that tore apart Long Chen's attack. However, Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu did not have it easy. In front of him, Long Chen, who was shrouded in the evil vortex, was unscathed. The same attack had lost its effect in such a short period of time. To Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu, this was a huge blow. It was unbelievable. It was hatred, madness, and malevolence.
Whoosh.
Everyone was in an uproar. It turned out that Long Chen had already reached the stage where he could easily defeat Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu. It seemed like he did not have to use much strength. It was almost the same as when he fought against Tao Ancestor Lu Ya. Could it be that there is really no one who can stop Long Chen? That might not be the case. Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu has not reached the stage where he is truly crazy. He hates Long Chen more than we do. Moreover, even if Fiend Ancestor Chi Yu is defeated, there is still Hong Jun. I feel that among the ancestor gods of the 5th era, Hong Jun is definitely the strongest. I'm just afraid that ancestor god Hong Jun will go easy and let Long Chen become the champion. Chapter 3581. Even if I, Chi Yu, am torn to shreds, I will stop you, Long Chen, from dominating the myriad worlds. I will destroy your soul and completely annihilate you. You and your mystical dragon race should have been annihilated. Why drag out your feeble existence? Buzz buzz buzz. Demon Ancestor Chi Yu transformed into a towering giant. He stood proudly in the endless starry sky. In his eyes, Long Chen was nothing more than a speck of dust.
Boom.
At this moment, Long Chen transformed into a giant mystical dragon. He was black and white, and his entire body seemed to be forged from gold and steel. In between his brows, there was a sharp judgment sword. It was formed from the karmic halberd. His claws were like curved blades, flashing with endless cold light in the starry sky. His dragon tail was like a spear, sharp, huge, and terrifying. The mystical dragon and the giant faced off in the starry sky. Even for elder gods, this was a shocking sight to behold. They were existences as large as several worlds. They were the true rulers of the myriad worlds.
Roar.
The giant and the mystical dragon roared angrily. In the endless battlefield, they began to fight.
Rip.
Close combat was even more dangerous. However, the divine Tao Heart Dragon was a steel mystical dragon. As they fought, his horn sword, claws, and tail spear left countless bloody wounds on Demon Ancestor Chi Yu. In contrast, even if Demon Ancestor Chi Yu could attack Long Chen, he could not break through Long Chen's Taiji life form. The Taiji life form was undying and indestructible. With the Taiji life form dragon's body, Long Chen's life would hardly be in danger. The scene was grand and dangerous, rarely seen in the world. Sinful Sky Fiend. Demon Ancestor Chio's entire body was stained with blood. At this moment, the blood on his body began to burn, transforming into scarlet flames that constantly burned and destroyed. Sinful Sky Fiends were born from the blazing flames. In the myriad worlds, there were trillions of living beings. Every single one of them had devilish wills and evil wills. Even animals and flowers had evil wills and evil hearts. These devilish thoughts were the power of sinful sky fiends. What Demon Ancestor Chi Yu used was the devilish thoughts in the hearts of all living beings in the world. All the devilish thoughts gathered in the scarlet flames on Demon Ancestor Chi Yu's body. Greed, anger, obsession, all sorts of sins gathered in his heart.
The Qiyu demon ancestor was the demon ancestor, the origin of demonic will. The sinful heavenly demon existed in his heart and within his rules. For a time, killing intent soared into the heavens. Even though the elder gods were far enough away, their minds were still affected by the Qiyu fiend ancestor's demonic will, causing them to feel all sorts of negative emotions. Amazing! It was precisely because of this fear that everyone couldn't help but take a step back. As far as the eye could see, the Qiyu demon ancestor's bloody and sinful heavenly demon fire had already engulfed Long Chen. The demonic aura was monstrous and simply wanted to suppress everything. Even the ancestral god of the Fourth Era wasn't confident that he could safely resolve the Qiyu demon ancestor's attack. In fact, be it Long Chen or the Qiyu demon ancestor, they were already very close to the Fourth Era's Yuanzhu realm. The sinful heavenly demon came pressing down. The Qiyu fiend ancestor's eyes were bloodshot as his killing intent gathered on the laws. In the face of all this, Long Chen still didn't take the initiative to attack, but he didn't panic. To him, today was more of a test of the results of his 10,000 years of cultivation. Even though he had obtained the Divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon Origin Dragon Soul in the end, and became the Divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon, Long Chen had also comprehended many laws. The righteous path of the human world was one, and the ancestral dragon heavenly tribulation was another, but definitely not all. For example, at this moment, surrounded by the sinful heavenly demon, Long Chen, who had transformed into the divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon, wandered in the starry sky. His body gave off a resplendent light that illuminated the heavens and earth. Demonic will, the enemy of evil thoughts, was the judgment of good and evil. It was justice. The divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon was definitely the most righteous dragon. When the demonic will was born, he displayed his true power. The righteous Qi swept out. The more demonic will the Qiyu demon ancestor gathered, the greater the power of the divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon's judgment. Sinful prison. Sinful prison. This was the law of the divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon. When the Qiyu demon ancestor's sinful heavenly demon surged over, Long Chen turned into the divine Tao Heart Refining Dragon and wandered around. The horn sword, claw blade, and tail spear on his body drew out golden or black trajectories in the void. These trajectories seemed to come to life, and in a very short time, they formed a prison, trapping the Qiyu demon ancestor within. The golden and black prison. Light shone, and the power of justice swept out, dispersing all evil. When it shone on the Qiyu demon ancestor, it produced sizzling sounds, and the scarlet flames were about to shrink. Puny tricks, how dare you make me, the sinful heavenly demon? The Qiyu demon ancestor roared. To be honest, Long Chen's endless means had already frightened the Qiyu demon ancestor. As a four-headed ancestral dragon, he had too many means, and the laws were getting stronger. Ancestor god Pangu was also watching this scene. This was actually his battle of revenge, so he was a little nervous. Until the sinful prison was born. What a Long Chen! What a formidable power of karmic judgment! The more evil one is, the more powerful it is. Chapter 3582. It was his only chance. If he missed it, he would never have another chance to kill Long Chen in this life. It doesn't matter if I lose or admit defeat. As long as he's dead. So what if I'm despicable and have already lost? The Qiyu demon ancestor was repeating the trick he had used against ancestor god Pangu. The ominous Qi of 10,000 demons was perfect for this moment. When he was trapped in the nefarious prison, the Qiyu demon ancestor had used too much of the ominous Qi of 10,000 demons. He was just waiting for this moment. Although this is the second time, they would never have imagined that I would choose to counterattack after admitting defeat. I hadn't even admitted defeat against ancestor god Pangu the last time. In a short moment, many thoughts flashed through the Qiyu demon ancestor's mind, and he looked even more ferocious. Die! As long as Long Chen was hit by the ominous Qi of 10,000 demons, the Qiyu demon ancestor was 100% confident that he could kill Long Chen and destroy his source energy completely when the Chaos Ancestor God and the others arrived. As for the Chaos Ancestor God and the others, the Chaos Cave Ancestor and the others would definitely make a move when the opportunity presented itself. As long as they could stop the Chaos Ancestor God and the others, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. With the nefarious prison removed, the Qiyu demon ancestor exploded and attacked with lightning speed. His sudden movement caused an uproar among the crowd.
Even the ancestor god would find it hard to imagine that he would choose to attack after being defeated, especially with the ominous chi of 10,000 demons.
Hee. Suddenly, Long Chen opened the Death Realm Dragon Gate and disappeared before the Qiyu demon ancestor's eyes. In terms of timing, Long Chen had already done this when he removed the Sin Cage. It was done simultaneously. It was also because of this that when the ominous chi of 10,000 demons surged out, Long Chen was already prepared and disappeared before the Qiyu demon ancestor's eyes. The ominous chi had actually lost its target. The Qiyu demon ancestor was stunned. Clearly, Long Chen had already guessed his next move. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reacted so quickly. Demon ancestor Qiyu, you've already lost the battle. Yet, you're still trying to pull off the same old tricks? You're really thick-skinned, aren't you? By the time Long Chen appeared, he was already beside the Chaos Ancestor God and the others. No matter how much Demon Ancestor Qiyu wanted to kill Long Chen, there was nothing he could do now. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor turned back and happened to see Long Chen, who was looking pleased. Surrounded by the 10,000 fiendish baleful qi, his heart shook violently, and his mind went blank. In her eyes, there was only Long Chen's eyes that were as majestic as the divine Dao heart-refining dragon. I never would have thought that the exalted fiend ancestor Qiyu would be so despicable and shameless. After being defeated, you still want to launch a sneak attack. I imagine you want to use your myriad fiend baleful energy to kill me. Long Chen's voice drowned out Qiu's, allowing every single elder god present to hear his words. For a moment, everyone was stunned. They saw it clearly. That was exactly what Qiyu Fiend Ancestor wanted to do. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor did the same when he fought against Ancestor God Pengu. He didn't even admit defeat then, and now he is being suppressed by Long Chen. Who knew that he would do such a laughable thing? In terms of being despicable and shameless, there is indeed no one who can compare to Qiyu Fiend Ancestor. All of a sudden, numerous ancestor gods were discussing Qiyu Fiend Ancestor. Their words were filled with disdain, disgust, and mockery. One of the strongest ancestor gods of the Fifth Era actually did such a thing. That was really unexpected. Long Chen, don't spout nonsense. Since you have already won, then it is time for the final battle. Common People's Emperor Ancestor quibbled. I just wanted to use the 10,000 fiend baleful energy to break your cage. Who knew that you would suddenly release it? If not for Chaos Whole Ancestor telling me to admit defeat, you might not have won. Although everyone knew what Qiyu Fiend Ancestor was thinking, he still wanted to quibble. This way, he could save face and prevent Long Chen from using the Ancestor God Alliance to punish him for today's matter. After all, there were many people who supported Long Chen. How hateful! His final chance to kill Long Chen had been missed just like that. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor's heart was filled with rage. His improvement is just too quick. In such a short period of time, he has already surpassed me. If this were to continue, it would be unimaginable how far his status would fall in the future. Tens of thousands of ancestor gods had established a nation of ancestor gods. The Qiyu demon ancestor didn't want himself to be a nobody in this nation. He wanted to be at the top. He wanted to command everything. Ancestor gods were the top of everything. What he wanted was to be the top of the top. Today, he wanted to stop Long Chen from charging to the top. Who knew that he would become Long Chen's stepping stone? From now on, he would become a joke. For example, his quibble just now had attracted a round of mockery. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor was furious and his face turned red. I should use this chance to take revenge on him. He had already broken the rules by attacking after admitting defeat. Long Chen could use the Ancestor God Alliance's decision to restrict and punish this guy. You don't have to waste your energy. You are already stronger than him. In the future, he won't be your match. There is no need to pursue this matter. Chapter 3583. The Final Battle of the Ancestor Gods of the Fifth Era. The final victors, Long Chen and Ancestor God Hongjun, stood on the battlefield. This battle was the last and most crucial one. Hongjun is the Ancestor God who has hidden himself the most.
Even the ancestor gods of the Fourth Era don't know what tricks he has up his sleeves.
I'm not confident in this battle either. I can only fight to the death.
As for Ancestor Nature and Great Dream Ancestor, since they made this agreement, they also set a limit for themselves.
If I can't get first place, then they won't change their minds.
In the future, when Chaotic Whole Ancestor and the others make things difficult for me, they won't help me anymore. After all, for all the ancestor gods, my future potential is a threat to them.
Long Chen understood everything that happened today very well. On the opposite side, ancestor god Hongjuan's face was cold.
He had already entered a state of battle.
When Chaos Ancestor God announced the start of the final battle, everyone entered a state of suffocation.
They widened their eyes, afraid that they would miss the most crucial battle. Chaos Whole Ancestor and the other ancestor gods of the Fourth Era looked extremely cold.
As long as Hongjun goes easy on him, Nature Ancestor and Great Dream Ancestor will join their side. Mortal People Ancestor Emperor said solemnly. Saint Ancestor Kitagarbha said, that won't happen. These two ancestor gods are not fools. Since they have set a limit, it will depend on Long Chen's true ability. If Hongjun doesn't use his full strength, we can all see it. I'm just worried that even if Long Chen is defeated, those two will join him.
I don't think so.
If they wanted to join, they would have done so long ago. They don't have to hold out until now. It can only be considered a compromise. No matter what, Long Chen has progressed to such a level, and we have stopped him until now. He has long held a grudge against us. No one has a way out. After this battle, even if it causes a war among the ancestor gods of all worlds, we will destroy him and his dragon sacrificial continent. Chaos Whole Ancestor Kitagarbha said viciously.
A war among the ancestor gods of all worlds.
The newly arrived Bright Gold Ancestor and Devil Silver Ancestor glanced at each other.
They felt that they shouldn't have participated in this battle.
People would die in battle, and they would suffer losses.
But for some reason, perhaps because they had been quiet for too long, they became excited at the mention of battle, the flames of war burning in their chests.
Even if we have to engage in this cruel civil war, we still have to take down Long Chen. Firstly, it's to prevent the myriad of worlds from falling into the rule of a single person. Secondly, it's to protect ourselves. Based on what I know, Long Chen is someone who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Once he becomes the ruler, it will definitely be our doomsday. They were having a heated discussion. The flames of war first burned in their hearts. Chaos Ancestor God and the others could sense the enemy's determination to fight to the death. In truth, Chaos Ancestor God and the others had never thought that this would happen.
I'm afraid they've made up their minds to kill Long Chen.
To them, Long Chen is a threat, but to us, he is our savior. These short-sighted people, how many times have I told them that the Sky-Swallowing clan still exists, but their focus is always on the fact that Long Chen is above them. From today onwards, the myriad of worlds will never be at peace again. After the destruction of the apocalypse, the peace did not last long. The raging flames of war swept through the ancestor gods of the myriad of worlds. At this time, Long Chen and Hongjun stepped onto the path of fighting for the title of the strongest Fifth-era ancestor god.
Buzz!
Ancestor god Hongjun flashed his world source in front of Long Chen. Affected by this, the surrounding ancestor gods were extremely shocked. They understood that this was Hongjuan's true power. So strong. Long Chen's appearance and unexpected participation in the war had already defeated immortal Liu Ya and Qi Yu. His performance was beyond the imagination of all the ancestor gods. But this time, when he faced Hongjun, when Hongjun displayed such power, most people thought that everyone had their limits. If Long Chen was only as strong as he was when he fought Qi Yu, he would not be Hongjuan's match. However, Long Chen immediately displayed an unimaginable new rule. Karma. Meditation mantra. Good and evil were in one's heart and wouldn't be disturbed in any way. Long Chen closed his eyes and shut off his ears, even though those shocking recitations were shaking his heart from all the passages. Long Chen had sunk into another kind of realm. What he saw was the dragon sacrificial continent, countless soaring divine dragons, and a flourishing scene. Peace, justice, perfection. A world where all life could pursue a bright future. Boom boom boom. The two world wills were constantly clashing. Long Chen might not give it to his opponent.
Under the astonishment of the crowd, He seemed to have an endless supply of laws. Most of the laws today were ones that Long Chen had never used before. There were simply too many. Over the past few days, he had become the body of 4 ancestor dragons. Everything was improving by leaps and bounds. Break. Following Long Chen's furious roar, Hong Jun's rules finally vanished. Not bad. You are indeed qualified to fight me to the death. Hong Jun was actually very arrogant. To be honest, he felt that he was stronger than ancestor god Pangu, because he was unfathomable and mysterious. After he said that, the clouds within the gate of all life changed rapidly. All the Hong Juns disappeared, and instead, a huge bronze bell appeared. Beside the bronze bell, the clouds condensed into an old man. That old man held a huge wooden pillar and struck the bronze bell with great force. Sound of the Sage Tao. Let's see how you resist. This was completely similar to before, but even more powerful. All the chanting of the Tao scriptures condensed into the reverberation of the bell. Within the gate of all life, when the bell rang, bronze ripples materialized and reverberated within the gate of all life, causing a huge roar. The bronze ripples arrived before Long Chen along with the sound of the bell. Long Chen deeply understood that this was the most terrifying attack. It surpassed the evil sky demon of the Qiyu demon ancestor. This sound of the Sage Tao brought an even more terrifying challenge to Long Chen. Looks like I can no longer hide anything today. Facing ancestor god Hong Jun, Long Chen could only smile bitterly. Of course, these weren't the only new laws he was familiar with. The inheritances of the 4 ancestor dragons had bestowed him with endless laws. This was just the beginning. Eternal Heavenly Dungeon. This was a law of time. The Eternal Heavenly Dungeon was different from the nefarious cage. It imprisoned not others, but oneself. Long Chen's body flashed with light, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared before Hong Jun's eyes. Within the Eternal Heavenly Dungeon, he was trapped in another world of time. His own time was frozen, and he was separated from this world. Even now, he was still calm, but his rules had already been fully unleashed. He merged the gate of all life into his body. At that moment, even he himself had become a gate. It was the gate within the gate of all life. My Tao is eternal. The inner gate gradually changed and finally turned into a huge Tao word that blocked the gate of all life. Such rules could be used for both defense and offense. Whoosh! That Tao word contained the principles of the world. It was the final condensation of all the rules of ancestor god Hong Jun. It was everything he had. In the next instant, the Tao word and the slaughter judgment sword wheel charged forward. Everyone held their breaths. At that moment, the battlefield was torn apart layer by layer, disappearing inch by inch until it completely disappeared. Countless battlefield shards obscured the vision of most people, making it impossible for them to see the situation clearly. Rumble! What's going on? At their level, they have already broken through the combined defense of the 4th era's ancestor gods. So strong! They have completely surpassed the level of demon ancestor Qiyu and the others. To all the ancestor gods, what was before them was a broken, huge, chaotic world. It was completely destroyed. To mortals and even godly venerable ones, it was a forbidden ground. As for Long Chen and ancestor god Hong Jun, they were naturally still within the forbidden ground. Who won and who lost? Or is it a tie? At that moment, this became the biggest question in everyone's mind. All the 4th era's ancestor gods looked solemn as they looked at the chaotic area. In fact, they knew better than the other ancestor gods what had happened on the battlefield. At that moment, 2 people walked out of the chaotic area together. It was Long Chen and Hong Jun. The 2 of them were chatting and laughing. It did not look like they had been engaged in a huge battle. The 2 of them were basically unharmed. Don't care about your own status and not the survival of the myriad worlds. This is a short-sighted move. This point was referring to the chaotic whole ancestor and the others. In order to protect their own status, they were eager to get rid of Long Chen in order to be at ease. After hearing this, it didn't seem to have much effect. The chaotic whole ancestor and the others had heard these words countless times,
But this time, they could only sneer.
On the other hand, the other ancestor gods vaguely felt something.
Second point. Long Chen continued. The second point is my declaration. I, Long Chen, only seek to strengthen myself and protect the myriad worlds. I don't seek hegemony or harm others. My only goal is to defeat the invaders, completely wipe out the sky-devouring race, and bring glory to the myriad worlds. Therefore, I hereby swear that I will only control the dragon sacrificial continent in the future. No matter how powerful I become, I will never harm the rights and interests of the other ancestor gods and their worlds, nor will I bully the weak. As for controlling the myriad worlds, that's even more ridiculous. I only want to build the dragon sacrificial continent. You can all find out what kind of person I, Long Chen, am. Everyone is an ancestor god, so you naturally have your own judgment. I know that some people have opinions about me growing stronger day by day, and even fear and panic, but I just want to say that there's no need for that. Today, Long Chen made use of this opportunity to clearly state what he wanted to say. He believed that most of the ancestor gods understood what he meant. Long Chen, don't use your tricks anymore. We all know that you're very cunning. You're declaring so much just so that everyone will give you time to grow stronger. Once you're above the ancestor god of the fourth era, you won't have the final say in the myriad realms. Strength is everything. You're the greatest ruler and the myriad realms are in your control. Don't talk about the sky-devouring clan anymore. We all know that that's just an excuse. You're afraid of death, so you're using the sky-devouring clan as a cover to protect yourself. The sky-devouring clan's conspiracy ended completely during the Doomsday War. Those people have been sealed for an era. Even if they're still alive, they won't have much power left. What's there to be afraid of? He and Long Chen opposed each and every one of them. Let's go. Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others turned to leave. There were a total of 9 4th-era ancestor gods. Perhaps what demon ancestor Xueqi said was what they said. They had already made up their minds, and it wasn't something that could be changed by a few words from Long Chen. Let's go. Demon ancestor Xueqi encouraged many 5th-era ancestor gods to leave with Chaos Whole Ancestor. This action was very obvious. They were choosing sides, and it was very direct. The ancestor gods of the myriad worlds were divided into 2 groups. Let's go. For a moment, many ancestor gods were shouting and encouraging others. The myriad worlds' ancestor gods are now divided. Many ancestor gods sighed. They couldn't leave, but they couldn't stay either. Those who could leave required a lot of courage. They made it clear that they were on the Chaos Whole Ancestor side, and their next goal was to target Long Chen. For a moment, about 2,000 people left with Chaos Whole Ancestor. There weren't many of them, and there were 1,000 destruction ancestor gods. But in reality, the ratio of 6th and 5th-era ancestor gods was very high. Many of those who weren't willing to leave were 9th and 8th-era ancestor gods. Although Long Chen's side was slightly stronger, it wasn't by much. The myriad worlds' ancestor gods were indeed divided. One left, and the other stayed. From then on, the civil war raged. Tomorrow, a new volume would be released. Giant Fiend God Beasts. Chapter 3586. Long Chen knew that as long as he grew stronger, this day would eventually come. If he had reached the level of the 4th era's ancestor god, perhaps all those who opposed him would completely give up. But now they were stuck at this juncture. Therefore, the other side would obviously prepare the fiercest counterattack with the sole goal of killing Long Chen. Of course, the goal of the Chaos Ancestor God and the others was not to defeat the other side, but to protect Long Chen. As long as Long Chen had the ability that even the 4th era's ancestor god could not restrain, then they would win. There were still more than 8,000 ancestor gods left here. Their numbers were many times that of the other side. Of course, most of them were still undecided ancestor gods. They stayed here only because they did not want to leave. They might not be able to interfere in the competition between the higher-ups. The only ones who could make a difference were the core 5th era and 4th era's ancestor gods. Long Chen did not want this division to affect those below the 6th era's ancestor god level. But in fact, the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others were keen to do so. They even hoped that the myriad worlds would be more chaotic so that they would have more opportunities to kill Long Chen. Those below the 6th era's ancestor god level,
including the 6th era's ancestor gods, go back first. Don't come out for a while. Today's matter has nothing to do with you. The Chaos Whole ancestor god's words made many ancestor gods feel relieved. They really did not want to get involved. They could not stop the Chaos Whole ancestor and the others from killing Long Chen. In an instant, a large number of ancestor gods left. Of course, there were also those who did not want to leave. Long Chen said a few words to them to express his gratitude. The ancestor gods realized that they could not provide much help and went back. But this way, they could clearly see who was thinking for them and the myriad worlds. The Chaos Whole ancestor and the others only cared about their own power and status. The struggle for power. When only the 5th era's ancestor gods and the 4th era's ancestor gods were left, it was convenient for them to stay together and talk. The Chaos Ancestral God said, clearly, there is no turning back now that the situation has developed to this point. The other party will definitely take some measures. The key point is Long Chen's safety. Therefore, I suggest that Long Chen return to the Dragon Sacrificial Continent as soon as possible. We will then defend the Dragon Sacrificial Continent. Long Chen was willing to follow their arrangement. Actually, after thinking about it, he could always stay in the Tower of Time. However, if he discovered the ancestral dragon's inheritance, he would still have to come out. Moreover, he had to protect the Dragon Sacrificial Continent and the Divine Dragon Clan. No problem. Their task was to protect Long Chen. Even if all the ancestral gods were to remain in the Dragon Sacrificial Continent, it wouldn't matter. Chen was very as he said. Long Chen, the group passed through the Death Realm and arrived at the Dragon Sacrificial Continent. Under the arrangements of the Chaos Ancestral Gods and the others, they were scattered all around the Dragon Sacrificial Continent. As for the 4th era's ancestral gods, they began to arrange layer by layer, basically making the Dragon Sacrificial Continent impenetrable. No original grade world was as solid as the Dragon Sacrificial Continent. Even if all the ancestor gods attacked, it would take them half a day to break through. This half a day was enough for all the ancestor gods who supported Long Chen to arrive. After all the arrangements were completed, the ancestor gods felt much more relaxed. A month had passed, and the other party had disappeared without a trace. They had not taken any action yet. Basically, they were all staying in their world. Everyone knew that the current peace would soon turn into a storm. The other party could not endure for too long. When the formations on the Dragon Sacrificial Continent were completed and extremely solid, the ancestor gods were more relieved. With their efforts, the resistance of the Chaos Whole ancestor dragon was like a farce. They might attack our world in a fit of anger. We have already spent a month here. We should go back. Some ancestor gods had been worried for a month. They could not stay here forever. Although it was important to protect Long Chen, it was also troublesome to expose their own world to danger. After all, no one knew what the crazy ancestor gods would do. However, it was fine now. With the formation set up by the 10 ancestor gods of the 4th era, the Dragon Sacrificial Continent could be completely safe, even if the other party attacked in full force. Then, the ancestor gods returned to their worlds one by one. Of course, after the arrangements were made, they would immediately gather at the U. Now that the U was under Long Chen's control, it was connected to all the worlds. Long Chen's remaining goal was to continue growing stronger. The Origin Dragon attendants were very careful. They wandered among the worlds and continued to search for other ancestor dragon inheritances. It should be very difficult for others to know their whereabouts. Now that we have reached the 6th era ancestor god realm, each inheritance has 4 world origins. However, it is much more difficult to have a 5th world origin. It will take at least 10,000 years. It was not that all 4 inheritances had 5 world origins, but only one of them. It would take tens of thousands of years for all of them to reach the 5th era ancestor god realm. Fortunately, the Void Cosmic Dragon had this Tower of Time. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to grow in peace and escape the strangulation of the 5th era ancestor god. Just as Long Chen was about to enter a meditative state and cultivate in peace, something big happened. I beg a 4th era ancestor god to come to Pangu continent quickly. Ancestor god Pangu was calling. For a moment, all the ancestor gods were shocked. Everyone instantly understood that the opponents who had been silent for a long time had finally made their move at this critical moment after some discussion. However, they did not choose Long Chen, but Pangu continent. Chaos Ancestor God had said that no matter what the other party did, in the final analysis, their target was Long Chen. Therefore they had agreed that no matter what happened, Long Chen could only stay in the dragon sacrificial continent, and it would be best if he did not show up. Ancestor God Pangu. Long Chen was concerned about him, but for the sake of the overall situation, he could only endure it and stay in the Tower of Time. The time difference of tens of thousands of times was a long wait. Don't worry, Long Chen. We've been on guard. Primordial War Ancestor and Creation Ancestor God have arrived at Pangu continent to help. As for the others, they are all in your death reign. Now was the time for a battle of wits and courage.
What exactly happened to Pangu continent?
Asked Long Chen nervously. There was no response from Chaos Ancestor God for the time being. Perhaps the situation had gone a little beyond their imagination. Long Chen arrived in the death reign from the Tower of Time. Through the gate that led to Pangu continent, he saw the current situation of Pangu continent. At this moment, Pangu continent was in a complete mess. Its Chi-Yu fiend ancestor. The whole continent was enveloped in a monstrous fiend aura, which obviously belonged to Chi-Yu fiend ancestor. Clearly, Chi-Yu fiend ancestor had come here and fought a fierce battle with Pangu ancestor. It was unknown whether there were others. However, Chi-Yu fiend ancestor seemed to be unscrupulous as he fought Pangu ancestor. Although he could not kill Pangu ancestor, and was even suppressed by him, the aftermath of the battle had killed trillions of Pangu continent's ancestral gods. As far as the eye could see, the whole continent was enveloped in a dense fiend aura. Countless lives had been destroyed in this calamity. Countless souls were scattered. Countless lives were wiped out. Hatred was burning across the whole continent like a fire. Haha! Chi-Yu fiend ancestor's presumptuous laughter rang out from the sky. Even though he was covered in wounds, he was still presumptuous. Chi-Yu fiend ancestor. Long Chen was furious when he saw this. In this world, he was the only one who had the ability to bring all living beings back to life. He could not just watch these dead souls dissipate like this. I'm going out. There were 8 ancestral gods of the 4th era around him. Except for Primordial War Ancestor and Creation Ancestor, the rest were all here. No way. Chaos Ancestor God and the others knew what he was thinking. But the problem was, they had agreed on this a long time ago. They could not let Long Chen go out and put him in danger.
Chapter 3587.
To be honest, he was not afraid of the 9 ancestral gods of the 4th era. What he was more afraid of was his powerlessness.
Senior, it would be meaningless to keep yourself safe and live an ignoble life.
If you hide like this, you will be looked down upon by the other ancestral gods.
If he did not have a backbone, how could he conquer the countless lives in the myriad worlds? How could these ancestral gods truly submit and trust Long Chen? Under Long Chen's burning gaze, the ancestral gods discussed for a while. Coincidentally, Chi-Yu fiend ancestor was already under control, and the fiend aura was suppressed and expelled. Ancestral god creation had checked the surroundings and found no other ancestral gods near Pangu continent.
All right.
The 10 ancestral gods of the 4th era were all guarding Long Chen. When Long Chen came out of the death world, he saw a messy Pangu continent. The fiend aura had been expelled, and the land was now littered with corpses. Even ancestral god Pangu, an amiable existence, now had a strong hatred in his eyes. It was hard to imagine that such a strong killing intent was emanating from him.
What he was staring at was none other than Chi-Yu fiend ancestor, who was imprisoned in a cage by the Primordial War Ancestor.
Now, Chi-Yu fiend ancestor was still in the cage, laughing hideously.
Chi-Yu fiend ancestor, how dare you commit such an evil deed?
The alliance of ancestral gods will never forgive you this time.
Just wait for your life in prison.
Perhaps for the ancestral gods, this was the cruelest punishment. After all, they could not be killed. Life imprisonment? Ancestral gods alliance? Pangu, you're too ridiculous. Does the ancestral gods alliance still exist? Can imprisoning me relieve your hatred? You can't. The ancestral gods alliance has been completely destroyed because of Long Chen. You're the ones who destroyed the ancestral gods alliance. Don't mention the ancestral gods alliance to me anymore. If you have the guts, you can kill me and avenge the billions of lives on Pangu continent. Chi-Yu fiend ancestor god's words stabbed into Pangu's heart. Ancestor god Pangu almost couldn't control himself.
However, he knew that he absolutely couldn't kill Qiyu because this might be the plan of the Fourth Era's ancestor gods. Once Qiyu was gone and the Jiuli demon domain was destroyed, the ancestor gods of myriad worlds would know that it was Long Chen's people who killed Qiyu. Killing ancestor gods was a taboo in myriad worlds. Once it happened, it would be condemned by the public. Long Chen's rise was originally a righteous act, but it would be turned into an evil path. On the other hand, the chaotic cave ancestor and the others had an excuse to provoke a real war and draw more people to their side.
After all, there were always many people who were wavering between the two sides. Calm down, Elder God Pangu. Just when ancestor god Pangu was deeply provoked, Long Chen and the other 8 Fourth Era's ancestor gods appeared here. Long Chen, you coward, how dare you show up? I thought you would hide in your turtle shell for the rest of your life. You've got guts. Yes, you've seen it. I've wiped out almost 1/10 of the mortal beings on Pangu continent and made them die tragically in the Fiend League. Why? Do you have gooden to kill me? I don't either. In order to dominate myriad worlds, you don't dare to ruin your own reputation. So, you have to suffer the loss today.
Qiyu Fiend Ancestor said with a ferocious expression.
He was absolutely sure. Perhaps he thought that Long Chen would fly into a rage because of this. Indeed, when he first saw the scene, he could not control himself and had a great killing intent. But now that he thought about it carefully, he might not fall into the trap. The reason why Qiyu Fiend Ancestor could destroy the defense of Pangu continent so quickly was because he had the help of the Fourth Era's ancestor gods. Long Chen just glanced at him, then turned to face Pangu continent. With 10 ancestor gods guarding him, Long Chen would not be affected unless all 9 ancestor gods came out at the same time. Boom! Long Chen had transformed into a Taiji dragon with 15 dragon heads. His enormous body was comparable to the size of Pangu continent. As he flew and spun across the continent, countless emerald flames fell from his dragon scales like candlelight and fell to every corner of the continent. In a very short time, when Long Chen had traveled across all the lands of Pangu continent, the whole continent was engulfed in emerald flames. The raging fire of life was burning in this world. Life burns the world. A stronger law of life swept across the entire continent. Bring the dead back to life. Long Chen's attainments in this aspect would be greatly praised by all the Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods. This was truly a miracle, and only he could do it. All the dead souls had new bodies and returned to their new bodies. As far as the eye could see, trillions of living beings were forming their own bodies at the same time. A dead world was gradually becoming a new world. Immortality and immortality. They were mortal beings, so it was much easier for them to bring the dead back to life. But it would not be easy for ancestor gods. The higher the level of a living being, the more difficult it was to come back to life after they vanished. It was especially true for the creator gods. Once they were destroyed, the essence of the world would be shattered, and it would be impossible for them to come back to life. They were amazed. In Long Chen, the chaos ancestor gods and the others saw the courage and kindness of a ruler, which strengthened their support for Long Chen. As he watched his dead people come back to life one by one, Pangu continent's eyes were filled with tears. He had a good relationship with Long Chen, and from the look in his eyes, it could be seen that his loyalty to Long Chen would be greater than that of all the ancestor gods in the future. The only one who was dumbfounded was Qiyu Fiend Ancestor. His purpose was probably to create a catastrophe so that Long Chen and the others could kill him. As long as he dealt a heavy blow, he could discredit Long Chen and turn him into a righteous and evil person. After all, killing an ancestor god was an extremely intolerable act for all the creator gods. It would make Long Chen lose the hearts of the people, and what they feared most about Long Chen now was the hearts of the people and the unity he had. So Long Chen's appearance today had easily uncovered his painstaking plan. Long Chen. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor gnashed his teeth and stared at him. Long Chen looked back at him with an indifferent face. What are you going to do to me? Qiyu Fiend Ancestor looked at him coldly. If I imprison you, the 9 ancestor gods will come after me, said Long Chen. So, I have no choice but to let you go. As you said, I can't kill you, can I? Qiyu Fiend Ancestor sneered and said, very well. Let me go, and you'll be tortured endlessly. I'll see how many you can save, and I'll kill you until you go crazy. Next time, I'll find a low-grade world and destroy its essence. Let's see what you can do then. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor was constantly giving Long Chen difficult problems. Long Chen said, "That's because you don't want freedom. Since that's the case, you can stay here for a while. Wait until you've calmed down. I have a space. 1 year inside is 10,000 years outside. I'll let you stay there for a year, which is 10,000 years to me. Then, we'll meet again in 10,000 years." 10,000 years. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor's expression was gloomy. To him, Long Chen was as slippery as a mudfish. No matter what he did, he couldn't pull Long Chen into his trap. At this point, Qiyu Fiend Ancestor became extremely irritable. He used his 4 arms to hit Primordial War Ancestor's cage. He stared at Long Chen and roared with laughter. "Very well, Long Chen, do you think you've won this time?" He was acting strangely. "In my eyes, there's no winning or losing, only justice." Long Chen could feel his irritation, but he was already imprisoned, so there was nothing to fear. Long Chen was prepared to bring him into the ruins of time. "Ha ha!" Qiyu Fiend Ancestor laughed maniacally and beat his chest. "Let me tell you you're finished." Suddenly, he stopped and smirked. Although he was already under control, his behavior still made the 4th era's ancestor gods anxious. At this moment, Qiyu Fiend Ancestor's saber, spear, sword, and halberd appeared in his hand. "What are you trying to do?" Long Chen frowned and took many steps back. To him, it was impossible for Qiyu Fiend Ancestor to escape at this time, but he still had to be careful. After all, he had learned his lesson previously. "I want to die." Qiyu Fiend Ancestor let out an earth-shattering roar. All of a sudden, the saber, spear, sword, and halberd in his 4 arms suddenly collided together. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor used all the power of the origin of the world. Crack! In front of Long Chen's shocked eyes, the saber, spear, sword, and halberd instantly shattered, turned into powder, and dissipated in the cage. At the same time, Qiyu Fiend Ancestor's laughter and his divine body were in the midst of shattering. The most terrifying thing was that the originally peaceful Xueqi demon domain, which was countless distance away, suddenly shattered. Chapter 3588. The Xueqi demon region was an original incipient realm to the 10,000 worlds. There were trillions of creatures there, similar to Pangu ancestor god. The Xueqi demon race had flourished in the Xueqi demon region for several great eras. They were born in the 5th era and had been sealed outside the 10,000 worlds for nearly 100 million years. They had only recently returned to the 10,000 worlds. No matter what, there had never been a destructive disaster. Not to mention the current situation. With the Qiyu demon ancestor, the Xueqi demon race had never been afraid. Even in the other worlds of the 10,000 worlds, the Xueqi demon race was still a level higher. After all, the Qiyu demon ancestor was one of the strongest people below ancestral god in the 4th era. For several years, the Xueqi demon race had traveled through the 10,000 worlds and gained a great reputation. However, at this moment, the entire world was shattering, just like the Qiyu demon ancestor. Whether it was humans, beasts, flowers, trees, the sun, the moon, or the stars, they were all shattered. They turned into illusory powder that gradually spread and floated in the starry sky. Before the destruction, even every member of the Xueqi demon race didn't know what had happened. They might still be in pain, joy, or excitement. However, all of that disappeared in an instant and no longer existed. Even if there was, it was only temporary panic and pain. The entire world disappeared in an instant, disappearing from the 10,000 worlds. What was left was a whirlpool that spun for a while before becoming still. Although the other worlds weren't affected, the huge commotion couldn't be hidden from them. Even the ordinary people could see the gloomy Xueqi demon region turning into ashes. Qiyu demon ancestor. At this moment, the Qiyu demon ancestor's divine body crumbled along with the origin of his world. Even as he was destroyed, he was still laughing maniacally as though he was being controlled. No one knew when it started, but the Qiyu demon ancestor seemed to be acting strangely. He was committing suicide. Long Chen, your end will definitely be worse than mine. The Qiyu demon ancestor's final gaze was extremely firm. Then, he really disappeared along with his world and the origin of his world. Buzz. When the primordial war ancestor opened the cage, the Qiyu demon ancestor in the cage had completely disappeared. How could this be? For a moment,
Not only Long Chen, but the surrounding 10 Fourth-era ancestral gods were also in a state of extreme shock.
This was completely beyond their expectations. It was impossible for an ancestral god to commit suicide, but now it had really happened. Impossible? Long Chen's eyes widened. He hoped that he was dreaming. He wasn't concerned about demon ancestor Qiu's life or death. If it was in the past, he would have been killed by Long Chen after offending him so many times. What he cared about was the people of Xueqi Demon region. Once demon ancestor Qiu died, the world's essence was destroyed.
Then, the trillions of living beings in the Xueqi Demon realm will die too.
They're probably all dead now. The Chaos Ancestral God said in a hoarse voice. How could this demon ancestor Qiu be courting death? Impossible. How could the ancestor god of creation make such a decision? Not only would he harm himself, he would even harm his descendants. Furthermore, his goal was to kill Long Chen. Even the Fate Star ancestor was stunned.
All of the elder gods exchanged glances.
Demon ancestor Qiu. Long Chen's mind went blank. Demon ancestor Qiu destroyed everything he had. More importantly, Long Chen wouldn't be able to revive the Xueqi demon race.
With the destruction of the world's essence, they would definitely be extinct.
Reviving them would be useless. From then on, there wouldn't be a single Xueqi demon race left in the myriad worlds.
Who knows why?
Who knows?
However, since he has made such a decision, then, he will definitely have a next step.
It can only be said that they are too ruthless.
Their determination to kill Long Chen is too great.
Long Chen thought for a moment and said, let's go to Xueqi Demon Realm first. Everyone passed through the Death Rain and arrived at the original location of Xueqi Demon Realm. When they arrived, Xueqi Demon Realm had been completely destroyed and disappeared. As expected, out of the trillions of living beings in Xueqi Demon Realm, not a single one survived. The world's essence is too important. What does demon ancestor Qiu want to do? Even though they were the Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods at the peak of myriad worlds, they were bewildered. Their opponent's method was so cruel to them that it caught Long Chen and the others off guard. Protect Long Chen. 10 Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods surrounded Long Chen.
The destruction of an original incipient grade world like Xueqi Demon Realm could affect dozens of surrounding worlds and dozens of ancestor gods.
These dozens of creation ancestor gods and countless civilians had already spread the shocking news to the entire myriad worlds in just a short time. The transmission of information between ancestor gods, no matter how far away they were, happened in just a blink of an eye. For a moment, myriad worlds were shaken. I heard that Long Chen and the 10 Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods were there. It was them who besieged demon ancestor Qiu and killed him in the end.
Demon ancestor Qiu deserved it. When he went to Pangu continent to challenge Pangu ancestor god, he played dirty tricks and killed many barbarians on Pangu continent. Long Chen and those Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods went to help, and in a rage, they killed demon ancestor Qiu. Anyway, demon ancestor Qiu had offended them several times. That's right, demon ancestor Qiu deserved it.
But is the Xueqi demon clan a scourge? Billions of lives were lost just like that. It must be Long Chen's order. I didn't expect this guy to be a smiling tiger. His words are full of righteousness, but he's so cruel to do such a treacherous thing that completely deviates from the Ancestral Gods Alliance. The Ancestral Gods Alliance exists only in name. Now, it's Long Chen's world. He has killed the Fifth Era's ancestral gods and wiped out trillions of lives before he has even ruled over myriad worlds. I can't imagine what will happen to him in the future. No wonder the 9 Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods are so determined to oppose him. I finally know the truth. With such cruelty, he really can't rule over myriad worlds. Otherwise, it will be our doomsday, and we will have to obey his will and arrangements. When the news spread across the myriad worlds, all the ancestor gods were discussing it in fear or anger. The image that Long Chen had painstakingly built up quickly collapsed because of the killing of the ancestor gods. Many of the ancestor gods were already wavering on their own. When something like this happened, they were scared out of their wits and distanced themselves from Long Chen. Some of them even began to oppose him in their hearts. Now there's no way to clear his name. Long Chen heard the discussions from all corners of the myriad worlds. If I tell everyone that demon ancestor Qiyu committed suicide and that I didn't order him to be killed, who would believe me? Even I don't believe that ancestor gods would commit suicide, let alone others. They will only think that I'm cruel and merciless, and if I don't admit it, I'll be lying. It could only be said that demon ancestor Chio's action was too ruthless. It was so ruthless that it instantly stabbed Long Chen's Achilles' heel, leaving him with no choice but to suffer. He couldn't even defend himself. Even if there were 10 Fourth Era's primordial ancestor gods as witnesses, they were all supporting Long Chen. They didn't believe Long Chen, so why would they believe these 10? When they thought about how Long Chen would rule over myriad worlds, and how they might be killed if they angered him, and how their world's origin would shatter along with their world, many ancestor gods shuddered. All the trust he had in Long Chen had been for naught. Perhaps, this is the goal of demon ancestor Qiyu and his people. Long Chen was gnashing his teeth, and the 10 ancestor gods were frowning. The myriad world's ancestor gods valued their lives very much, especially ancestor gods. When they knew that they were in danger of dying, it was very difficult for them to remain calm. After all, they only had a very short life memory. Before Long Chen and the others left the Jiuli demon domain, many ancestral gods in the surroundings were already secretly watching from afar. They didn't dare to approach. Suddenly, 9 rays of light flickered over. It was the aggressive chaos whole witch ancestor and the others. From the looks of it, it was going to be a huge battle. Chapter 3589. Of course, they were not the only ones. They had also gathered many ancestor gods of the 5th and 6th eras who opposed Long Chen. Almost all of them had come to the Jiuli demon realm. Long Chen and the 10 4th era ancestor gods were exposed in front of them. Coupled with the discussion among the ancestor gods, they felt like they had been caught red-handed. You deserve to die. The 9 4th era ancestor gods descended with monstrous rage. They glared at Long Chen and the others and suddenly exploded. Their movements constantly attracted the attention of the ancestor gods of all worlds. Demon ancestor Qiyu is the creation ancestor god. The 9-Li demon region has trillions of lives. You actually killed demon ancestor Qiyu because of a personal grudge, causing trillions of lives to die. You have completely betrayed the principles of the ancestor god alliance. You really deserve to die. Sacred ancestor Kitagarbha had a pitying look on his face. Such a scene simply made him grieve. Who is it? Is it you, Long Chen, or one of the 10 of you? Who is the murderer? You all know the rules of the ancestor god alliance. Those who don't report the truth will be punished the same as the mastermind. Or are all 11 of you the masterminds of today's incident? More and more ancestor gods came to join in the fun. They obviously wanted to blow the matter up, and now they couldn't hold it in any longer. News of the matter spread across the myriad worlds. These 10 4th era's primordial ancestor gods all supported Long Chen. Clearly, the main culprit behind the death of Qiyu demon ancestor and billions of lives was definitely Long Chen. All the spearheads pointed in Long Chen's direction. Countless people in the myriad worlds were discussing his arrogance and ruthlessness. More and more ancestor gods gathered around. Long Chen, these people are merely your lackeys. Needless to say, the death of demon ancestor Qiyu is definitely your decision. You're too daring. You haven't even dominated the myriad of worlds yet, but you're already in a hurry to kill the ancestor god. You're simply a beast. How can we allow you to harm the myriad of worlds in the future? Chaotic Whole Sorcerer ancestor's eyes were bloodshot and filled with killing intent. Long Chen was already extremely cautious in the face of this group's aggressive aura. Now that there were even more elder gods gathered here, he suddenly said loudly, "Everyone knows that these 9 elder gods find me, Long Chen and Eyesore. They are worried that I will grow stronger in the future and take control of them, which will endanger their status." That was especially true after the 5th era's elder god battle. They wanted to kill me, but I evaded them all. Today, Qiyu Fiend Ancestor has attacked Pangu continent, killing and injuring countless lives on the continent. So we captured him and brought his dead soul back to life with the Law of Life. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor had tried every possible way to lure us to kill him, but none of us fell into his trap. In the end, he killed himself in front of us, and that's what caused this change. We still don't know why demon ancestor Qiyu committed suicide, but the 9 of you have appeared too quickly, as if you were prepared. Although I'm just guessing, I believe all of you can figure out that demon ancestor Chio's death is an excuse for you to kill me. What a crafty plot. You can't trap a wolf if you don't want to sacrifice the child. But, I can't help but sigh with emotion. You're really generous, abandoning the lives of demon ancestor Chiyu and billions of lives just like that. Long Chen's heart was filled with anger. He hated them even more than they did. Those were billions of lives. That was all he could say for today's matter. As for whether or not the ancestor gods believed him, that was their business. Nonsense, we are afraid of you, yes, but we will never use demon ancestor Chio's life to exchange for it. Your life, Long Chen, is not 10 times as important as demon ancestor Chiyu to us. Ancestor Common People's Emperor snorted coldly. Stop talking nonsense. Giving him a chance to quibble will only cause more people to fall into his lies. Today, he has already revealed his brutal nature. He is not suitable to rule the myriad worlds, and he still used suicide as an excuse. What a joke. Let me ask you, which ancestor god would give up the lives of himself and the lives of the world to commit suicide? Ridiculous. Really ridiculous. They let them continue. Those who still had some faith in Long Chen started to waver. They also thought about it, and the excuse of suicide was too ridiculous. 10 ancestor gods of the 4th era, I'm warning you, you are helping the wicked. If you don't get out of the way, we will use the ancestor gods alliance to judge Long Chen, and you will become the sinners of history. They turned the spearhead towards the 10 ancestor gods of the 4th era. Don't use this kind of pointless assurance. If you have the guts, just attack directly. Using the life of the demon ancestor Chiyu to frame Long Chen, you are really willing to do so. At this point, your intentions are very clear. So don't waste time. The ancestor gods were really stubborn. They would attack sooner or later, so there was no point in wasting time here. You're right. We don't want to waste time with you. However, there's one thing that you shouldn't joke about. I've said it before, even if we want to kill Long Chen, we will do it openly. We will definitely not use such senseless methods. Moreover, in our eyes, Long Chen's life is not as important as demon ancestor Chio's. Everything they said seemed to be true. Long Chen, return to the death world. We will block here. We have never fought before, and it will happen sooner or later. With you here, it won't be good for us to attack. This was the unanimous opinion of the 10 ancestor gods. When Long Chen came out of the death world, he discovered that they were all a little tired, but they didn't suffer any serious injuries. However, when he looked at Long Chen's expression, he felt like crying and laughing. What's wrong? Asked Long Chen. Ancestor God Creation said, the 9 of them are quite powerful. The 10 of us attacked together, but we didn't gain any advantage. Our strength is about the same, and they also discovered this. Moreover, you're hiding, so there's no benefit in continuing the stalemate, so they retreated first. This wasn't a good thing. Firstly, the 9 of them were able to fight against 10 of them, which meant that their strength was about the same. Secondly, Long Chen had left early today, so fighting wasn't their ultimate goal. Most importantly, the death of the Chiyu demon ancestor had caused Long Chen to lose the support of the masses in the myriad worlds. Chapter 3590. Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others left, but Long Chen and the others were in chaos. Today's encounter had a great impact on them. Ancestor God Hong Jun and the others arrived later. Apart from the core group of 5th era ancestor gods, there weren't many others gathered here. Where are the others? Chaos Ancestor God asked. Hong Jun said, they heard that Long Chen killed Chiyu and billions of living beings. Their hearts wavered and they don't dare to come here anymore. Chaos Ancestor God said angrily, how can we believe their words? They had lost at least 25th era ancestor gods. Those ancestor gods were afraid of Long Chen and didn't want to get involved in this struggle. Hong Jun sighed. The key is that Chio's suicide is too unbelievable. They don't believe it, so they can only understand it as the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others said. This wasn't out of their expectations. But they were helpless. After losing the support of many 5th era ancestor gods, our advantage is gone. Now, we are evenly matched, or even slightly stronger. Fortunately, those ancestor gods we lost just wanted to stay neutral. Long Chen was still calm at this moment. When the Chaos Hole ancestor and the others left, they were still clamoring that today's matter wasn't over yet. They would definitely avenge Chio's death. The Fourth Era ancestor gods had started fighting. The civil war between the ancestor gods had broken out, but it didn't affect the lower-level ancestor gods. All of them were fighting at the higher level. The most crucial ones were the Fourth and Fifth Era ancestor gods. No matter what, they will take many measures. Long Chen, you have to be careful. After all, you are their only target, said the founding ancestor demon. The public opinion of the myriad worlds is hard to control now. However, it's useless to explain this matter. As time passes, the truth will naturally come out. Long Chen nodded. In fact, he didn't care about the loss of 25th Era ancestor gods. After all, he knew that he could only rely on himself to survive in such a situation. He needed to have the power to fight against the top 4th Era ancestor gods. You're right. You don't need to care about the affairs in the world for the time being. Go back to your Tower of Time for cultivation. As for the affairs outside, the public opinion and the struggle against our opponents, we 10 will work together. Primeval Battle Ancestor said. That was all they could do. The best way was to not show his face. Once he showed his face, there would be danger. Go back. Long Chen returned to the Tower of Time and cultivated and lived with his wives and daughters, ignoring the disturbances outside. As for the other Chaos ancestral gods, they were resolving the fury of the Great Wizard Ancestor and the other ancestors of the Great Wizard Ancestor. During the process, they fought each other for a few times. Eventually, all the ancestral gods of the Fourth Era gathered together in case of being attacked by the Great Wizard Ancestor. Things had already developed to this extent. The 10,000 worlds that had not been peaceful for long were once again thrown into chaos. Even the lower-level ancestral gods were affected. Many godly venerables and deity emperors also joined the chaotic battle. They were divided into two groups based on their attitudes towards Long Chen. From that day onwards, even though the ancestral god of creation had yet to perish, chaos was inevitable. Under the request of the Fourth Epoch's primordial ancestor gods, Long Chen focused on cultivating and completely ignored what was happening outside. He really wanted to interfere, but he also knew that the other party's goal was to lure him out. As long as he went out, he would fall into the other party's trap. Outside the dragon sacrificial continent. In the distance, the shadows of the 9 ancestral gods emerged from the darkness. They were not their real bodies. Dragon sacrificial continent. They looked at the place with burning eyes. I didn't expect them to be so desperate and set up so many formations here. With so many defensive formations, it will take us half a day to break through. After such a long time, the 10 of them should have arrived long ago. After all, they have one more than us. If we really fight, we're more likely to suffer losses. Using this method to force Long Chen out is indeed a bit of a cheap trick. We should have a better way. Everyone discussed for a while. That's right. A lot of time has passed. With Chio's death, now is the time to strike while the iron is hot. Don't wait until the storm is over to take action. Now, we still have the excuse of anger and hatred. In the end, the bright gold ancestor said, I have an idea. The other 8 gathered their gazes on the destruction ancestral god. The bright gold ancestor said, the success rate of forcefully breaking through the dragon sacrificial continent isn't high. Moreover, we need to fight head-on, so we don't have much confidence. Now the one who has lost his support is Long Chen, and we are the righteous ones. In that case, even if a righteous person commits a crime like kidnapping, it's still for the sake of righteousness, right? Therefore we can capture a person whose life Long Chen cares about and force him to come out and perish. Even if we use the hostage's death to threaten him, we have an excuse. After all, we're the ones who are angry and hateful. At worst, we'll call it even. The myriad world's ancestor gods won't say anything about us. After all, Long Chen will already be dead by then. Well said. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Actually, this was just a small idea. It was just that the bright gold ancestor had said it clearly. Right now, they were in the stage where they were raising the flag of righteousness no matter what they did. But who is this hostage?
As far as I know, those who are related to Long Chen are all around him. The chaotic whole shaman ancestor didn't lose his mind and asked calmly.
Have you forgotten what happened last time?
The bright gold ancestor smiled faintly and said, in the final battle of ancestral gods of the Fifth Era, Long Chen fought on behalf of Pangu.
Just last time, he was angry because Qi Yu had killed many people of Pangu continent. Now, among the existences we can control, Pangu is the most suitable one. Once we get rid of Pangu and threaten him with his life, I don't believe Long Chen can still hide and not come out. If he comes out, we can ask for more conditions.
That's right. When they thought about it carefully, they realized that Long Chen and Pangu did have a deep friendship, and Long Chen was someone who would risk his life for him. As long as Pangu is in our hands, it won't be difficult for us to take Long Chen's life away by threatening him with his life. If he's a coward, we can kill Pangu to vent our anger, and then put the blame on Long Chen's head, saying that he didn't save him. Long Chen still had the ancestral god of the Fourth Era with him. However, most of the ancestral gods of the Fourth Era had gathered together, so they couldn't kidnap them alone.
Come, let's go to Pangu continent and find a chance to wait for Pangu.
Pangu followed Chaos Ancestral God and the others, but he would occasionally return to Pangu continent.
Last time, when the defensive formation was broken, he was repairing it. The days in the Tower of Time were very quiet.
Long Chen was comprehending his own laws, and was also guiding Long Yan, Long Lin, and Long Qingxing.
Xiaolang. In the Tower of Time, Mo Xiaolang had returned.
Long Chen had been waiting for him for a long time, and he had finally returned to Dragon Sacrificial Continent. It was Ancestor God Creation who asked him to come back. Now that the Ancestral Gods Alliance only existed in name, and the Ancestral Gods had fallen into a civil war, there was no need for Ancestor God Creation to imprison Long Chen any longer. I thought that when I came out, you would be the #1 Ancestral God in all the worlds.
I didn't expect it to be so fast. It's only been a nap. Mo Xiaolang smiled. It had only been a year or two.
Long Chen had been in the Tower of Time for tens of thousands of years, so he didn't get in the way and returned to the group of companions. When they were free, Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang talked about what had happened recently. It seems that I smell danger, as if something is approaching, said Mo Xiaolang with a frown. Maybe it's the Sky-Devouring clan. They are so powerful that they can't be imprisoned forever. Besides, we don't know if there are other Sky-Devouring clans in all the worlds, said Long Chen. Big brother, there is still no answer for the 9 Yin demon ancestors' attack on you, and there is still no clue about the fate-changing rope of the Qi Yu demon ancestor.
The key is that the Qi Yu demon ancestor committed suicide.
Maybe I smell the danger behind all these things. In fact, Long Chen thought so too, but he couldn't find any trace of the danger.
Chapter 3591.
Rest more. The time in the Tower of Time was long. Long Chen wasn't in a hurry to go. There was no difference between going out now and going out a few days later. I've had enough rest, but there's no room for progress. I still don't feel comfortable.
Mo Xiaolang was distressed.
Long Chen wanted him to be as high-spirited as before. Perhaps the danger behind is an opportunity. Don't worry, I'll go out first. Big brother. Mo Xiaolang stopped him and laughed heartily. That's right, I also believe that the battle is far from over.
I don't want to be left behind by you.
I want to continue fighting alongside you until the Sky-Swallowing clan is destroyed and the Order of the Myriad Worlds is restored.
Definitely.
After saying that, Long Chen entered the death rain from the Tower of Time. Closely after that, time returned to the normal range.
Something's wrong.
Only Chaos Ancestor God was here. The other Fourth Era Ancestor Gods weren't here.
When?
Long Chen realized the severity of the matter. Generally speaking, Primal Chaos Ancestor Gods and the others had forbidden Long Chen from making an appearance, and would generally intercept any news that reached Long Chen. Only when there was absolutely no other choice would such a thing happen, and Long Chen was the only person who could resolve the situation. Chaos Ancestor God's eyes were filled with anger. They caught Ancestor God Pangu. They said that if you don't appear, they'll make Ancestor God Pangu suffer the same fate as Qi Yu.
Anyway, a life for a life.
If you don't appear, they'll kill Ancestor God Pangu to avenge Qi Yu and bring justice to the world.
Hearing this, Long Chen was enraged.
He naturally knew how despicable they were.
Nonsense. Chiyo's death has nothing to do with ancestor god Pengu. They just want you to go out, that's why they came up with such a lousy excuse. However, if you don't go out, with their personalities, Pengu will probably suffer. However, if you go out, they will probably find a way to take your life. You have to think it through. I let you come here to give you a chance to make your own decision. I have to go out, Long Chen said without hesitation. All right, it's within my expectations, Chaos Ancestral God said with a bitter smile. He naturally knew Long Chen's personality. He would never abandon his friends even if it meant taking a risk. If I don't go out, they will spread rumors in the myriad worlds. I can't even protect my closest friends, nor do I dare to protect them. Such cowards will not have the qualifications to rule the myriad worlds in the future. With their capabilities, it won't be a problem for them to smear my name. Long Chen was well aware of this. Public opinion was another kind of power apart from strength. Previously, with the death of the Qiyu demon ancestor, Long Chen had lost to the other party in terms of public opinion. He had lost quite a lot of support. He was not considered a top-notch expert now. If he wanted to stand at the pinnacle, he needed support. Let's go. He returned to Pangu continent once again. Pangu continent looked to be in a mess again. Even the ancestral gods of the fourth epoch were able to kill and injure a lot of people with just a casual strike. There were not many ancestral gods gathered around. It seemed that they had captured Pangu with lightning speed and informed Chaos Ancestral God alone. Now, the 9 of them were facing Primordial Chaos Ancestral God and the other ancestral gods. As the two sides stared at each other coldly, Chaos Ancestral God and Long Chen arrived. You finally showed up, the biggest coward in the myriad worlds, Sacred Ancestor Kitagarbha said with a faint smile. His smile was clean and refreshing. The eyes of the 9 opponents instantly gathered on Long Chen. It had only been a short time, and Long Chen had not made much progress for the time being. Long Chen. Elder God Pangu's muscular body was tightly bound by the rope. The rope was silver in color, and in truth, it had been manifested from one of the Elder Devil Silver's hands. It had transformed into a tree root that pierced through Elder God Pangu's body, entangling his world essence and even piercing through his broadaxe. It seemed as though it could slay Elder God Pangu at any moment. He had struck a heavy blow. They had done it on purpose. In this way, as soon as Long Chen appeared, he would be extremely angry. They were familiar with Long Chen's temper, so they naturally knew that Long Chen would not leave his friends alone. The more he wanted to save them, the more likely he was to die. Long Chen, don't fall for their tricks. Let the ancestor gods of the myriad worlds know that the death of demon ancestor Qiyu was part of their scheme. Now they even want to kill me. These are all part of their schemes to kill you. Pangu's voice was extremely deep. His roar had spread to hundreds of worlds and attracted many ancestral gods. To be honest, it was not easy for the chaotic cave ancestor and the others to stand on the side of justice. At this time, they did not want too many ancestral gods to know about this scene, so they wanted to end the battle quickly. Cut the crap. The devilish silver ancestor's silver spike pierced through Pangu's head and completely enveloped him, rendering him unable to move or even transmit his voice. He could only communicate with his powerful ancestral soul. Long Chen, be more direct. We do not believe that Qiyu Fiend Ancestor would commit suicide. There is only one way for us to believe you, and that is to kill yourself for us. As long as you die, we will immediately release Pangu. But if you are a cowardly tortoise, then I'm sorry, a life for a life. Qiyu Fiend Ancestor and the trillions of lives cannot die in vain. We must avenge them. Since you want to be a cowardly tortoise, then let Pangu bear your sins. The chaotic cave ancestor enunciated each word without missing a single detail. Is that possible? Long Chen didn't let them scare him. Instead, he laughed coldly and asked. The other party knew that he wouldn't give up until he saw the Yellow River. Among them, the Emperor Ancestor said, "Nothing is impossible. Qiyu is our brother and his death is our enmity. Today between you and Pangu, one must die. Who will you choose? Take note, we will only give you 30 breaths of time to choose. Once the time is up, it will be his doomsday. You can try and see if we are speaking the truth. The 30 breaths of time will start now." They were so unyielding just for this moment. As long as Long Chen was destroyed, their reputation wouldn't matter. If Long Chen didn't die, destroying Pangu would also be a gain. After all, they had lost Qi Yu Fiend ancestor. The other party started to count. Long Chen, forget it. They don't have any sincerity. They just want your life. The chaotic ancestor god reminded Long Chen. In such a situation, the final decision was still in Long Chen's hands. Time passed and Long Chen's eyes were filled with uncertainty. The key was that the other party had something on him. This wasn't their only chance to kill Long Chen. In fact, even if it wasn't ancestor god Pangu, they could capture any ancestor god. This concerned countless lives, and Long Chen couldn't let them kill him. This was his duty. Other than that, I think there are other ways. You guys are choosing one out of the two because you don't want to give me a choice. I won't seek a hopeless death. Therefore, if you kill Pangu, I won't kill myself. But if he dies, if I, Long Chen, have a chance to become stronger in the future, none of you will have a good life. To be honest, before this, I never thought of doing anything to you. But now I do. Long Chen was equally unyielding. In this situation, the more he followed them, the worse his fate would be. He had to find his own path. Otherwise, he would only be led by the nose. Long Chen's hatred, determination, and the threat of the future indeed made the chaotic whole ancestor and the others apprehensive. They were indeed worried that if they failed, Long Chen would surpass them, and they would be doomed eternally. After weighing the pros and cons, they could only say, "What's the third way you mentioned? Don't count on luck, or we'll still kill him. As for you, we've offended you enough. You're dead meat. Long Chen, we're not afraid of you." Long Chen thought carefully. Among the countless ways, he found one that they could accept. It was naturally very risky for him, but if he didn't take the risk, how could they let ancestor god Pangu go? Chapter 3592. Long Chen naturally couldn't allow ancestor god Pangu to die. Now that ancestor god Pangu was in the enemy's hands, he had no choice but to do so. Of course, he wasn't stupid enough to exchange his life for ancestor god Pangu's. In a stalemate, he could only think of this risky method. In reality, the other party was also longing for a chance to kill Long Chen. When Long Chen brought up this point and strongly expressed that he wouldn't sacrifice himself for ancestor god Pangu, the Chaos Whole Ancestor and the others fell silent. In addition to Long Chen's previous threats, they were indeed hesitant. Finally, after a series of secret discussions, Ancestor Mortal Emperor spoke. "We can agree to your request. We will send out the Chaos Whole Ancestor to fight. However, there is one thing that needs to be changed. It won't be one move, but 3. After 3 moves, regardless of whether you live or die, we will kill ancestor god Pangu. You need to guarantee that no matter what, your lackeys will not interfere." They called the 4th era's ancestor gods by Long Chen's side their lackeys. If they weren't in dire straits, they naturally wouldn't dare to do so. However, the Chaos Whole ancestor gods couldn't be bothered with their meaningless words. "Long Chen, this is a risk. If you aren't 100% confident," they were still somewhat hesitant. To the myriad worlds, Long Chen was far more important than elder god Pangu. If he were to risk his life and end up dying, it would affect the future of the myriad worlds and cause them to have no future. Some challenges need to be faced to train oneself. Compared to the sky-devouring race that wiped out the ancestor dragons, the Chaos Whole Ancestor is just a 4th era's ancestor god. If I'm afraid of him, how can I face even more terrifying opponents in the future? Therefore, an expert needs challenges. Only by experiencing challenges can one stand at the peak. Long Chen said with certainty, "This is your will. We are the ancestor gods. No matter how many challenges we experience, we won't change. Therefore we are different from you. However, I can understand your thinking." The creation ancestor god said. They didn't stop Long Chen. At this moment, Long Chen shook his head at the enemies and said, "This won't do. I'll definitely die under 3 moves from the great wizard ancestor. I won't have the slightest chance of survival. I can only use 1 move. Only then will I have a chance." He could imagine that he would definitely die under the Chaos Whole Ancestor's 3 moves. That would be no different from a direct battle. "That won't do. Your potential is limitless. 3 moves might not be enough. His opponent was also struggling. In the end, the chaotic cave ancestor became a little impatient and said, "3 moves are too many, 2 moves are enough. We can't let Long Chen off too easily. He killed demon ancestor Qiyu, so he should be punished. These 2 moves will be his punishment. Whether he can endure it or not will depend on his luck." 2 moves was Long Chen's limit. At this point, there was no room for discussion. Long Chen. When the Devil Silver ancestor gave ancestor god Pangu a chance to catch his breath, he looked at Long Chen in a daze and shook his head. "No, the Chaos Hole ancestor is the 4th era's ancestor god. You're still far from being able to withstand his attacks. You must not be reckless. If I die, I die. You can avenge me, but there's no need to throw your life away." In truth, there were already quite a number of ancestor gods in the surroundings. What happened here had once again alarmed the myriad of worlds. Long Chen's action of risking his life to save ancestor god Pangu had shocked them. Thinking of this, they were extremely puzzled. Given Long Chen's heroic spirit, why would he want to kill demon ancestor Qiyu? They really couldn't figure it out. Heavens, he really agreed to bear the wrath of the Chaos Hole ancestor. The Chaos Hole ancestor wanted to kill him for a long time. Now that he has such an opportunity, how could he be merciful? This Long Chen is definitely dead. He's really courageous. He even dared to agree to such a sure-death situation. Ancestor god Pangu is his friend. He can't just watch as the Chaos Hole ancestor and the others kill him. That's why he came up with such a solution. His wisdom and courage are extraordinary. Although everyone was nervous for Long Chen himself was very calm. He agreed to the Chaos Hole ancestor's last 2 moves. The Chaos Hole ancestor gods and the others did not stop Long Chen. For a time, the atmosphere was very tense. More and more ancestor gods approached and saw that Long Chen had withstood the fear of facing the 4th era's ancestor god. His heart was filled with lofty sentiments, and he pressed forward with indomitable will. He had monstrous courage, and he was willing to fight for his friends and take risks. With such unyielding character, it was hard to imagine that he would lie and deceive the myriad worlds after killing demon ancestor Qiyu. Could it be that demon ancestor Qiyu really committed suicide? Many people could not help but ask as they looked at Long Chen. A person's nature could be seen from their essence, energy, and spirit. Although the death of demon ancestor Qiyu was unbearably stifling, when they saw that Long Chen had made such a choice for ancestor god Pangu, many ancestor gods began to waver in their resolute hearts. While many ancestor gods were lost in their thoughts, the Chaos Hole ancestor flashed out of the group. Now that Pangu was still under their control, he walked away from Pangu continent with his hands clasped behind his back. At the same time he said to Long Chen, "Follow him." Long Chen followed him without hesitation. As for the other ancestor gods, he stayed behind to give them space to fight. The 10 4th era's ancestor gods were somewhat hesitant. But, after all, it was Long Chen's own choice. After struggling for many times, they finally chose to believe in Long Chen. In the blink of an eye, under the watchful eyes of all, Long Chen and the Chaos Hole ancestor came to an empty starry sky. According to ancestor god Pangu, the Chaos Hole ancestor is not the strongest among them. Because of this, Long Chen did not refuse when they chose him. Long Chen. The Chaos Hole ancestor turned around, his gray eyes fixed on Long Chen like a dead world, bringing with them the smell of death. Chaos Hole ancestor. It was impossible not to be nervous in the face of such an opponent. This was a challenge of life and death. Die! The Chaos Hole ancestor was so anxious that he wished he could kill Long Chen in the next moment. This came from the fear in his heart. It was because Long Chen had risen too fast that he was anxious, fearing that the next time he met Long Chen, he would surpass him. Chaos Hand. The 4th era's ancestor god completely surpassed Hongjun and Pangu. The origin of 6 worlds was the pinnacle of the ancestor gods of all worlds. Even most ancestor dragons only had the origin of 6 worlds. In an instant, heaven and earth and all worlds were shrouded by a gray aura. In Long Chen's field of vision, the entire boundless world had turned into a dark and gloomy hell. There was a deathly aura everywhere. This was the feeling of witchcraft. It was wild, mysterious, and possessed many ancient and mysterious techniques. The chaotic whole wizard world was such a world,
And the chaotic whole wizard ancestor was the ancestor of everything. Heaven and earth had transformed into a cave. All of the worlds were like embellishments attached to the walls of the cave, like stars in the night sky. This cavern did bear some resemblance to the origin of the divine dragons. Whoosh! In the cave, thick smoke billowed, and the chaos whole ancestor had disappeared. But at this moment, the laws had truly erupted, releasing a terrifying power that could destroy everything. Chaos Hand. Heaven and earth and all worlds had become a cave. Long Chen was in the middle of this cave. There are only two laws. The chaos whole ancestor will now use his strongest means to deal with me. Long Chen looked coldly at the depths of the cave. He could only prepare himself for this desperate fight. Buzz! Right at this moment, a huge gray arm appeared from the depths of the cave. It wasn't formed from the laws, but actual flesh and blood. It was covered in gray scales and looked extremely ugly and bumpy. However, it was extremely ferocious and huge. It could be said to be the arm of the entire myriad worlds, piercing through this cave of the myriad worlds. It was incomparably huge and could practically grasp the entire dragon sacrificial continent in its hand. The gigantic primordial chaos hand grabbed at Long Chen's head. Such a scene naturally shocked the onlookers. Long Chen. The primal chaos elder gods naturally knew how powerful these laws were. Some of them had withstood an attack from the primal chaos hand before. Long Chen's current strength was at the level of elder god Hongjun, and he was still a long way from being able to use the primal chaos hand. Therefore, all of their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. They were undoubtedly extremely nervous, and some even regretted not stopping Long Chen. It's possible that we had too high expectations of him, but if he fails this time, then, under the chaos hand, Long Chen was like an ant.
Chapter 3593.
Buzz. As the ancestral gods watched in shock and fear, the Chaos Origin hand from the Chaos Whole Ancestor slammed down on Long Chen's head. Everywhere it went, the huge cave collapsed inch by inch, as if the entire world was shattering. Suppress! The Chaos Whole Ancestor's furious roar resounded between heaven and earth. It seemed that Long Chen was in a critical situation and had no way out. In fact, Long Chen had already made some preparations, but there was too much uncertainty. Forget it, I'll go all out. He let out a loud roar that was like a clap of thunder. The Massacre Blood Sword and the Karma Halberd appeared in his hands. That was within everyone's expectations. To everyone, the only rule that Long Chen could use to fight against the Fourth Epoch's primordial ancestor god was the combination of the two rules, which was also the move that ultimately determined the outcome of the battle with Hongjun.
Massacre Judgment Sword Wheel.
The blood-colored sword and the Karma Halberd formed a sword wheel. The power of Karma Judgment and the power of Massacre fused together. It wanted to fuse and expand, and a total of 8 world origins were used. Of course, this wasn't equivalent to the 8 world origins as one. If it was one, then Long Chen had the origins of 16 worlds, which even the first ancestral dragon couldn't compare to. In the gray space, countless colors suddenly appeared because of Long Chen's outburst. Gold, black, and blood shone, piercing the darkness. At this juncture, the Massacre Judgment Sword Wheel condensed and pierced Long Chen's flesh with all his strength when the Chaos Origin hand surrounded Long Chen. Swish! In the next moment, the terrifying power of the primeval Chaos Palm pressed down on Long Chen's body. That was the purest form of power, instantly flattening Long Chen. If it wasn't for his Taiji life body, Long Chen would have already lost his life. It was the Tai Chi life body that allowed him to come back from the brink of death, but the pain wasn't something ordinary people could bear. There was even the impact on the ancestral soul. Rumble! The Chaos Origin hand surrounded Long Chen. Break! At this juncture, Long Chen gritted his teeth and desperately held on. This is only the first move. How can I die? There's still the second move. At the very least, he had to last until the second move. Otherwise it would be a joke. He knew the importance of his life. Many people existed in this world because of him. He had the courage to live more than anyone else, and he knew better than anyone else that he was the one person who could not afford to die in this world. Kill! Break! The two wills of slaughter and judgment erupted. Within the flesh and blood of the primeval chaos hand, his will charged forward with the sword wheel of slaughter and judgment. If he did not rush out, he would have died in the flesh of the primordial chaos hand and become part of the primordial chaos hand, assimilated by the primordial chaos ancestor's power. The primeval chaos palm was simply too big. The gigantic palm had all of its power pressing down on Long Chen's body. Boom. The repeated tremors caused Long Chen's skin and flesh to split open. Even the world source was almost shattered. Fortunately, the Tai Chi life body could repair the world source. Long Chen was temporarily unable to be destroyed. Kill. Amidst the flesh and blood, he wielded a long sword and a halberd, his eyes bloodshot. Life or death? I can't die, Long Chen told himself. His life did not only belong to him, but also to many others. Lingxi, Li Xuanji, his brothers, his children, they all needed Long Chen. Countless mystical dragons and trillions of living beings needed Long Chen. Once he died, this beautiful world was destined to cease to exist. Since that's the case, I can't die. Of course, death can free me, but how can I leave with regrets while living in this world? The 10,000 worlds need me, and I will definitely go through fire and water for them, and do my best. Kill. Fresh blood stained Long Chen's eyes. Endless slaughter. Suddenly, there was light in front of him. Break. Long Chen roared and charged out with the sword wheel of slaughter and judgment. 3 rays of light flashed, and the path of survival was right in front of him. In the eyes of the crowd, the primordial chaos hand had already clenched its fist, and it was clenched tightly. To outsiders, Long Chen was being squeezed. Now that the mixed Yuan hand was using strength, it was like a cauldron trying to digest Long Chen. The 4th era ancestor god is so terrifying. If he wasn't too proud, he wouldn't have ended up like this. What a waste. It was just the first move, but it was obvious that Long Chen was dead. Today was his doomsday. In order to verify their guesses, many elder gods looked at the primal chaos elder god and the others. Just as they had expected, the primal chaos elder god and the others had ugly looks on their faces. They were even panicking, and they might even be prepared to attack. On the other side, Ancestor Common People's Emperor laughed. Chaotic Hole is really something. He clearly had 2 moves and the first one was about to kill him. He was too nervous. If it was me, I would definitely let him live a little longer. I would show weakness on the first move and attack casually so that he could take it. That way, he would think that the 4th era ancestor god was just so, and the second move would kill him instantly. Only then would it be interesting. Based on what he said, it seemed like Long Chen had no more hope. However, right at that moment, a part of the primeval chaos hand suddenly shot out a 3-colored ray of light. In an instant, flesh and blood exploded. The gigantic primordial chaos hand was like a leaking balloon as it began to shrink and dissipate. The entire law was collapsing. At the last moment, Long Chen successfully charged out of the primordial chaos hand's boundless flesh with the blood sword and the karmic war halberd. South. His entire body was covered in green flames. After he came out, he was covered in wounds. All the heavy injuries he had suffered were rapidly disappearing. The power of life had already spread throughout his body. Long Chen. The mixed Yuan hand was destroyed and Long Chen was out. This had already exceeded everyone's expectations. Even the primal chaos ancestor god and the others who were prepared to attack stopped. Looking at the unharmed Long Chen, they found it incomparably unbelievable. Even their expressions froze. Of course, there was no need to mention Ancestor Common People's Emperor. He had just made a statement and now all that was left for him was awkwardness. He's not dead. In an instant, the gray cave shrank and disappeared, turning into the appearance of the chaotic whole ancestor. When he saw the unharmed Long Chen, his expression naturally turned ugly. He was actually confident that he could kill Long Chen with the first move, but he didn't expect that he would fail. Given his personality, he didn't want to use the second move, but he didn't expect that the most reliable mixed Yuan hand wouldn't be able to stop Long Chen. Damn it! More and more people came to watch. Of course, all the exclamations were for Long Chen. When Long Chen got up, he calmed down. After all, although it was dangerous, it was only the first move. The true danger would come later, when it was a matter of life and death. However, to the others, he had already created a miracle. Chaotic Whole Ancestor, don't show mercy. This is your last chance. You must use your ultimate move.
Ancestor Common People's Emperor shouted.
I don't need you to say that.
The chaotic whole ancestor was already frustrated that he couldn't finish off Long Chen in one move. He coldly looked at Long Chen and said, You managed to resist my first attack. Not bad. I have a rough idea of where your limit is. There will be no mistakes in the next attack. Just wait and see. He was very clear that the following rules would be different from the primordial chaos hand. In order to kill Long Chen, the chaotic whole wizard ancestor would definitely use the most confident attack. It would be the most dangerous move, and it would also be a fatal challenge to Long Chen. The people who had just calmed down were extremely nervous. They were happy for Long Chen, but it was too early. The last move would decide life and death. According to what they knew, Long Chen's limit was the Slaughter Judgment Sword Wheel. The chaotic whole ancestor's expression was solemn. Whoosh! A pitch-black skull appeared in his hand. It was the origin of his world, similar to the chaotic 9-color lotus of the chaotic ancestor god. It was called the Myriad World Skull. It was known as the Skull of, and its power was boundless. This was the fatal witch essence that was born from the great blue chaos hole. The strange power of the witch was condensed in the gray fog. Even a little bit of it would be a fatal blow to an ordinary 5th era's ancestor god. What a terrifying attack! For a moment, everyone was shocked by such a law. Even the 4th era's ancestor gods had to admire this. They could see that the black hole witch ancestor had definitely gone all out. Long Chen is in extreme danger. Surrounded by the fatal witch essence, Long Chen was likely to die in an instant and disappear from the myriad worlds forever. Countless people's hopes would also be completely severed. No! Ancestor God Pangu couldn't accept this. If Long Chen died in battle today, he felt that it would be his responsibility. Should we? The Chaos Ancestor God and the others stared at the battlefield with burning eyes. They were hesitating whether they should take action. Of course, the remaining 8 opponents were also eyeing them covetously. It seemed that it wouldn't be easy for them to rescue Long Chen. Let's see what Long Chen means. If he doesn't call for help, we won't go. After hesitating for a moment, they still made the same decision. This was based on their trust in Long Chen. Moreover, they also had Long Chen's ability to create miracles. But this time, the fatal witch essence couldn't be resisted. In a very short period of time, it drowned Long Chen like the waves of the sea, trapping him within and waiting for the arrival of death. Goo-goo-goo. The gray fog kept surging. At this moment, Long Chen felt like he was in an ocean, but it was an ocean of death. It was boundless. The myriad world skull trapped him within, and the gray fog around him was like the hand of a devil, robbing his life. At first, the gray fog surrounded him, and the Tai Chi life body seemed to be able to resist it.